Gotham's reign felt like judgment upon the damned. The city had seen darkness before. Batman's shadows, Joker's chaos, the endless rot that festered in Crime Alley's veins. But tonight, something older than Gotham's corruption tore through reality itself. In an abandoned cathedral where the cult of the Crimson Eye performed their blood rituals, dimensional barriers screamed and shattered. Pentagrams blazed with hellfire as robed figures chanted in languages that predated human civilization. They sought to summon servants of Trigon to bring Hell's legions into Gotham as tribute to their demon lord. They succeeded, and then they died screaming. The demons came through first, twisted amalgamations of horn and fang, creatures from dimensions where torment was art and suffering was currency. They materialized in sulfurous explosions. Nick ready to claim Gotham's already blackened soul. The cultists barely had time to prostrate themselves before claws tore through their robes and hellfire consumed their flesh. Demons cared nothing for worshippers, only slaughter. But the rift didn't close. It pulsed, expanded, and through that tear between worlds came something the demons recognized. Something that made them pause, made their chittering cease, made ancient instincts scream warnings in languages older than sin. The armored figure stood amid the burning wreckage of the cathedral, rain hissing against superheated metal. The praetor suit, green plates scorched by countless battles, marked with runes that predated this universe's conception of language, seemed to drink in Gotham's darkness. Beneath the visor, when eyes that had witnessed Hell's infinite cruelty focused on the demons with terrible, singular purpose. The Doomslayer had arrived. What followed wasn't a battle. It was extermination. The first demon lunged with claws designed to rend steel. The Slayer caught its arm mid-strike, twisted, and tore the limb free in a spray of ichor. Before the creature could shriek, gauntleted hands gripped its skull and crushed, reducing bone and brain to paste. The corpse hadn't hit the ground before the Slayer moved, faster than anything that massive had right to be, closing the distance to a hulking brute twice his size. The super shotgun materialized from somewhere. Dimensional storage, weapon manifestation. The mechanics didn't matter, and both barrels discharged point blank into the demon's torso. The creature exploded backward, its chest cavity obliterated, dead before its neurons could register pain. 3 more demons rushed simultaneously. The Slayer didn't retreat, didn't dodge. He advanced, moving through their attacks like a storm through cardboard. A chainsaw roared to life, biting into flesh with mechanical fury. Demonic ichor painted the cathedral's scorched walls as the Slayer carved through them with methodical brutality. Each kill seemed to energize him. Argent energy, the soul stuff of hell itself, absorbed through the praetor suit systems, feeding his strength, sustaining his rampage. Within 90 seconds, 17 demons lay shredded across the cathedral floor. The Slayer stood motionless among the carnage, rain-washing demon blood from his armor. The rift behind him pulsed weakly, collapsing now that its summoners were dead. He didn't look back, didn't acknowledge the dimensional tear closing, sealing him in this new reality. He simply reloaded and walked into Gotham's reign, sensors scanning for more demons. Because that's what he was. Not a hero, not even a man anymore, really. Just an absolute, unstoppable force with one purpose burned into every atom of his blessed, unkillable existence. Rip and tear until it is done. 6 blocks away, in the Batcave, alarms screamed. Seismic sensors registered the dimensional breach. Thermal satellites caught the brief hell signature before the rift closed. And in the cathedral's ruins, cameras, always cameras in Gotham, captured footage of an armored figure walking away from 17 corpses that forensics would later identify as not from this world. Bruce Wayne studied the footage, his cowl's white lenses narrowing. The figure's movements, not the brutal efficiency, the complete lack of hesitation. Whoever this was, they were trained, deadly, and most concerning, they just slaughtered 17 entities without a single wasted motion, without mercy, without pause. Alfred, Batman's voice was granted. Prepare the Batmobile. We have a new player in Gotham. I assume you'll want the full armory, sir? Batman replayed the footage again, watching those gauntleted hands crush a demon's skull like it was made of wet paper. Everything. Across the city in the House of Mystery, John Constantine jolted awake from a whiskey-soaked stupor, his mystical wards shrieking warnings. He stumbled to his scrying mirror, hands shaking, not from the alcohol but from what he felt through the magical fabric of reality. Something had crossed over. Something that made every demon sensor he'd spent decades crafting scream in primal terror. Bollocks, Constantine breathed, staring at the mirror's reflection of the cathedral massacre. That's not possible. He's a bloody legend, a myth demons tell to scare each other into not invading dimensions. But the evidence was there, captured in mystical resonance. The Doomslayer, Hell's greatest nightmare, had just entered the DC universe, and in the lowest pits of DC's hell, where Neron and the First of the Fallen held court over domains of eternal torment, every demon suddenly felt it. A presence, an impossibility, the one being their dimensional counterparts feared above all else. Whispers spread through Hell's hierarchy like wildfire through parchment. The unchained predator walks above. The Slayer moved through Gotham's rain-slicked streets, his helmet's sensors painting tactical overlays across his vision. This world was different. The energy signatures, the architecture, the ambient magic saturation. But demons were demons, and where demons existed, he had purpose. A scream echoed from an alley. The Slayer's head turned fractionally, his gauntlets clenched. The BFG's charging sequence hummed to life on his back. Gotham's criminals were about to learn what true terror looked like. If you want to see more characters enter different universes, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character and the universe you'd want to see them in down in the comments below. Hope shines brightest in the darkest night. The Dark Knight was coming to investigate. Hell's lords were mobilizing in fear. And the Doomslayer, too angry to die and too blessed to fail, had just begun his hunt in a universe where even gods walked among mortals. And where demons had, until tonight, believed themselves safe from the one predator that made hell itself tremble. The alley reeked of decay and desperation. Standard Gotham atmosphere. But beneath the familiar stench of garbage and human misery, the Slayer's enhanced olfactory sensors detected something else. Sulfur, brimstone, and the distinctive ozone tang of dimensional corruption. Three figures cornered a woman against a dumpster, but these weren't Gotham's typical predators. Their shadows moved wrong, stretching at angles that violated physics. Their eyes reflected light like animals, pupils vertical slits that belonged in reptile skulls. Possessed humans. Low-level demonic parasites wearing flesh like cheap suits. The Slayer didn't announce himself, didn't demand they surrender or release their victim. He simply raised the super shotgun and fired. The first demon host's head vanished in a crimson mist. The parasite shrieked as it was violently expelled from its dying meat puppet, a translucent, slug-like thing that tried to flee into the shadows. The Slayer's boot came down, crushing it into ichor. Argent energy flowed into him, a whisper compared to true demons, but sustenance nonetheless. The remaining two possessed turned, mouths unhinging to reveal rows of needle teeth. They charged with unnatural speed, claws extending from fingertips. The Slayer holstered the shotgun and met them with his fists. The first demon host swung wildly. The Slayer caught the arm, pivoted, and used the body's momentum to hurl it into the brick wall with enough force to crater the surface. Ribs shattered. The parasite fled the broken vessel. The Slayer's gauntlet snapped out, catching the demon mid-escape, and squeezed. It popped like a blister. The third tried to run. The Slayer's hand shot out, gripping the back of its skull, and slammed it face first into the pavement. Once, twice, 3 times. The host body went limp. The demon tried to abandon ship. The Slayer tore it free manually, ripping the parasite from the host's spine and crushed it in his fist. 3 seconds. 3 kills. The woman stared at him, frozen between terror and relief. The Slayer scanned her. No demonic corruption, no possession signatures. Human. Innocent. He turned and walked away without a word, leaving her alive and the demons thoroughly dead. And that was the calculation. Demons die, humans live. Simple, pure, uncomplicated by the moral gymnastics that plagued lesser warriors. Above them, perched on a fire escape, Batman watched through his cowl's enhanced lenses. He tracked the armored figure here, expecting to intervene in whatever violence was about to occur. What he witnessed instead was brutal, efficient, and disturbingly purposeful. The figure hadn't hesitated, hadn't shown mercy, but also hadn't harmed the victim. The targeting was precise, the violence controlled despite its savagery. "Interesting," Batman murmured, activating his grapnel gun. He swung down, landing silently in the alley's mouth, blocking the armored figure's exit. The Slayer stopped. His helmet turned fractionally, sensors analyzing this new obstacle. Advanced technology, peak human physique. No demonic corruption. Threat assessment, low but potentially complicated. "You're new to Gotham," Batman stated, voice modulated to its deepest register. "That makes you my problem." The Slayer stared at him, said nothing. The silence stretched, uncomfortable for most people. Batman was used to silence, used it as a weapon. But this silence was different. Empty of fear, empty of consideration, empty of anything except patient waiting for Batman to either attack or move. "Those people you killed." The Slayer's head tilted slightly. If he could have spoken, if he'd bothered to speak in centuries, he might have corrected Batman's assumption. Not people, demons, parasites wearing human skins. The distinction mattered, but speech required caring what others thought. And the Slayer had burned that capacity out of himself in countless battles across infinite hells. Batman's detective mind worked through the evidence. The dimensional breach at the cathedral, the slaughtered entities, this figure's arrival timing. "You came through that rift. You're not from this Earth, possibly not from this dimension." His hand moved subtly toward his utility belt. "I'm going to need you to come with me for questioning." The Slayer's response was to start walking, directly toward Batman. Not aggressive, not threatening, just moving forward because Batman was in his way and demons didn't hunt themselves. "I wasn't asking." Batman's hand emerged from his belt with a batarang, throwing it with perfect precision at the figure's visor. The Slayer's hand snapped up, catching the batarang mid-flight without breaking stride. He examined it briefly. Primitive throwing weapon, sharp edges, weighted for returning trajectory. Interesting craftsmanship. He dropped it and kept walking. Batman's eyes narrowed. Speed and reflexes beyond normal human capability, possibly beyond metahuman. He deployed smoke pellets, filling the alley with dense cover, using the distraction to reposition on a higher vantage point. Through thermal imaging, he tracked the figure's heat signature. It didn't search for him, didn't scan the environment tactically. It simply walked to where the smoke ended and continued down the street. "You're making this difficult," Batman growled, dropping down ahead of the figure again, this time in a combat stance. "Last chance, stand down or—" The Slayer walked past him. Actually past him? Close enough that Batman could have touched the Praetor suit's plating, but the figure simply didn't acknowledge him as a threat or obstacle worth engaging. It was, Batman realized with growing frustration, the most dismissive thing anyone had ever done to him. Criminals feared him, villains fought him, even Superman respected him enough to engage. This armored warrior treated him like furniture. Batman's jaw clenched. He launched himself at the figure's back, intending to execute a joint lock that would... The Slayer moved. Not a fighting technique, not martial arts. Pure reaction honed by countless battles against things far faster than humans. He spun, caught Batman's wrist mid-strike, and simply held him. For 3 seconds, they stood frozen, Batman's considerable strength completely negated by the Slayer's casual grip. But then the Slayer's helmet tilted, examining Batman with what might have been curiosity. Sophisticated armor, exceptional training, impressive human specimen, but still human, still mortal, still irrelevant to the mission. He released Batman and turned away. "Damn it!" Batman hissed, pulling a freeze grenade. He lobbed it at the figure's feet. Nitrogen ice erupted, encasing the Slayer's boots in crystalline bonds designed to hold metahumans. The figure looked down at the ice, took one step. The ice shattered like glass, kept walking. Batman activated his comlink. "Oracle, I need magical consultation immediately. Contact Zatanna or..." "Already here, Batsy." John Constantine materialized from a nearby shadow, cigarette dangling from his lips, looking considerably worse for wear. "Nah, figured you'd need someone who speaks apocalyptic demon slayer." "You know what this is?" Know what he is, mate. Constantine stepped into the Slayer's path, hands raised in a placating gesture that looked utterly ridiculous given his disheveled appearance. Oi, you! The walking hell nuke! Got a minute? The Slayer stopped. His sensors detected significant magical energy radiating from this human. Actual power, not the parlor tricks most magic users employed. His helmet focused on Constantine with something approaching interest. Right, so, here's the thing, Constantine said, smoke curling from his nostrils. I know you're here to kill demons. That's your whole deal, yeah? Rip, tear, the whole bloody package. And normally I'd applaud that. Hell knows this universe could use more demon-killing efficiency. But this ain't your hell, mate. Different rules, different players, different cosmic balance. The Slayer's fist clenched. Constantine noticed and took a careful step back. Easy now. I'm not saying don't kill demons. I'm saying let me point you at the right ones. Because if you start a massacre in the wrong hell dimension here, you might accidentally start a war that makes your hell look like a bloody church picnic. Behind Constantine, Batman processed this new information. He's specifically targeting demons? He doesn't target anything else, Constantine confirmed. This is the Doomslayer, Batman. Capital D, capital S. Where he comes from, he spent eons, and I mean eons, tearing through Hell's armies single-handed. Made demons so terrified of him, they sealed him away in a sarcophagus and prayed he'd never wake up. Didn't work, and obviously. The Slayer's helmet turned toward the distant cathedral ruins. His sensors were already painting new demonic signatures across Gotham's map. Possession clusters in the Narrows, a summoning circle in Robinson Park, something massive stirring beneath Arkham Asylum. So many targets. So little time. I can help you hunt, Constantine offered. Show you where the real nasties hide. The Lords of Hell here, Neron, the first of the fallen, Trigon's spawn. They need killing proper. But you storm into hell through the wrong door, and you'll destabilize things in ways that hurt innocent people. For the first time since arriving, the Slayer stopped moving, stopped scanning, focused entirely on Constantine, with an intensity that made the magician's cigarette tremble. Do we have an accord then? Constantine extended his hand, he knowing full well this could end with his arm being torn off. You want to purge hell? I want hell purged. Let's make some demons regret existing. The Slayer stared at the offered hand, calculated. Partnerships were complicated, usually ended in betrayal, in weakness exploited, in humans proving their fundamental inadequacy. But this one had information, access, knowledge of this dimension's hell structure. He gripped Constantine's hand, once, firm, then released. Constantine exhaled shakily. Right then, welcome to DC's hell, mate. It's going to be a bloodbath. Batman stepped forward. If you're working together, you're working under Justice League oversight. The Slayer's helmet swiveled to Batman. Even through the visor, the message was clear. No. Yeah, that's not happening, Constantine confirmed. This one doesn't do committees, doesn't do rules, doesn't do oversight. He does one thing, kills demons. You want him to stop, you'll have to kill him. And mate, Constantine glanced at the Slayer's imposing frame. I don't fancy your chances. Batman's jaw tightened. I'll be watching. The Slayer had already started walking, Constantine hurrying to keep pace. Behind them, Batman activated his Justice League communicator. Batman to Watchtower. We have a code infernal situation in Gotham. Notify Wonder Woman and anyone with mystical expertise, and someone contact Superman. He paused, watching the armored figure disappear into Gotham's shadows. We may have a problem. The Slayer's sensors locked onto the nearest demon signature, a possession cluster 4 blocks north. Constantine jogged beside him, already pulling chalk and ritual components from his coat. So here's what you need to know about DC's hell, Constantine panted. It's not just one place, it's dozens of hell dimensions, each ruled by different demon lords, all competing for souls and power. You can't just kick down the door and start shooting. Well, you can, but oh bollocks, you're not listening, are you? The Slayer raised his shotgun as they approached an abandoned tenement, where screams echoed from within. Inside, a dozen possessed homeless people were conducting a ritual, drawing power from their collective suffering. Right, Constantine sighed, drawing a protective circle. Do your thing then. I'll clean up the metaphysical mess. The Slayer kicked down the door and entered, the super shotgun already thundering. In the Batcave, alarms multiplied across Gotham's map, demon signatures erupting across the city as if responding to a challenge. Whatever the Slayer's presence had awakened, hell was pushing back. And in dimensions below reality's basement, where demon lords plotted and schemed, urgent councils convened. The impossible had happened. The Doomslayer had entered their universe. The great debate began. Flee, fight, or pray, he killed their rivals first. The tenement became an abattoir within seconds. 12 possessed hosts meant 12 demons riding human flesh, siphoning life force through a ritual circle drawn in blood and bile. The Slayer entered without preamble, without declaration. The super shotgun spoke first, 2 shells obliterating the nearest demon host's torso, the parasite inside shrieking as it was violently expelled from its destroyed vessel. The Slayer's boot crushed it before it could flee, argent energy flowing into his systems like lifeblood. The remaining possessed turned as one, their ritual interrupted, eyes blazing with infernal light. They attacked in a coordinated swarm, centuries of demonic tactical knowledge overriding their hosts' survival instincts. Claws extended, mouths distended impossibly wide. Hellfire gathered in their palms. The Slayer holstered the shotgun and drew the crucible. The blade ignited with crimson energy, a weapon forged in hell itself and turned against its makers. The first demon lunged. The crucible bisected it vertically, the argent blade cutting through flesh, bone, and demonic essence with equal ease. The parasite didn't even have time to evacuate before it was annihilated, its spiritual essence consumed by the blade's hungry edge. Her 3 more rushed him simultaneously. The Slayer moved like a dervish, not graceful, not artistic, but brutally efficient. The crucible carved through the first demon's neck, decapitating it. His free hand caught the second by the throat, lifting it off the ground as his fingers dug into corrupted flesh. He slammed it into the third, using the body as a battering ram, then drove the crucible through both simultaneously. Twin shrieks cut short, twin parasites evaporating under argent fire. Outside the protective circle, Constantine watched with professional fascination and existential dread. He'd seen demon hunters before, professionals, zealots, even angels on their righteous crusades. But the Slayer wasn't hunting, he was exterminating, the way humans exterminated vermin. No rage, no hatred, no emotional investment. Just perfect. Mechanical efficiency married to unstoppable physical force. Christ on a bike, Constantine muttered, sketching containment sigils in the air. The demonic deaths were releasing massive amounts of corrupt energy, and without proper channeling, the whole building would become a beacon for every hellspawn in Gotham. Could you maybe kill them a bit slower? I'm drowning in malevolent resonance here. The Slayer didn't slow. The remaining 6 demons tried a different tactic, spreading out, attacking from multiple angles, using their host's knowledge of the building's layout. 2 went high, scrambling across the ceiling with insect-like movements. 2 circled left and right. The final 2 hung back, gathering hellfire for a coordinated assault. The Slayer assessed, calculated, executed. He grabbed a rusted pipe from the wall, tore it free, and hurled it like a javelin at the ceiling crawlers. The pipe punched through the first demon host's chest, pinning it to the ceiling. It writhed, screeching. The Slayer raised the heavy assault rifle, materialized from his arsenal's dimensional storage, and fired a 3-round burst. The demon's head exploded. The second ceiling crawler tried to drop on him from above. He caught it mid-fall, one hand gripping its skull, and slammed it into the floor hard enough to crack concrete. His fist followed, punching through its chest, ripping out the parasite directly, crushing it. The flanking demons attacked simultaneously. The Slayer took the left one's claws across his chest armor, the Praetor suit absorbing damage that would have shredded steel, and responded with a backhand that caved in the host's skull. The right side demon managed to sink its claws into the seam between his armor plates, drawing first blood. The Slayer didn't flinch. He gripped the demon's wrist, twisted until bones snapped, then drove his helmet forward in a devastating headbutt. The demon host's face shattered. The parasite fled through the mouth. The Slayer's hand was waiting, catching it, incinerating it with a pulse of argent energy channeled through his gauntlet. The final two unleashed their hellfire, twin columns of infernal flame that would have cremated anything mortal. The Slayer walked through it, the Praetor suit's thermal shielding, designed to withstand the heart of stars, barely registered Gotham demon fire as a threat. He emerged from the flames, armor smoking slightly, and raised the BFG. "Oh, bloody hell! Get down!" Constantine dove behind his protective circle. The BFG discharged with a sound like reality tearing. A sphere of pure argent plasma erupted forward, splashing against the two demons and everything behind them. The wall disintegrated. The demons vaporized. Their parasites didn't even have corpses to flee from. They simply ceased to exist, unmade at the molecular level. Silence fell. 12 demons dead in under a minute. The Slayer stood amid the carnage, checking his ammunition reserves, already scanning for the next target. Constantine stood shakily, surveying the destruction. "Right, so, good news. You've officially terrified every low-level demon in Gotham. Bad news, you just rang the dinner bell for the big ones." He pulled out his flask, took a long drink. And I'm getting reports that the Justice League is inbound, specifically the one member you really don't want investigating demonic massacres. High above Gotham, a figure descended through the rain clouds, red cape billowing, the S-shield catching streetlight. Superman had felt the dimensional breach, heard Batman's report, and now detected massive energy signatures clustered around the tenement. He touched down in the street outside, his X-ray vision penetrating the walls to assess the situation. What he saw made him pause. Bodies, or what remained of them. Destroyed walls. And at the center, an armored figure radiating energy signatures that registered as both technological and mystical. Standing beside him, John Constantine, looking remarkably unconcerned for someone in a building full of corpses. Superman entered through the BFG's new doorway. "Constantine, Batman said you were harboring someone dangerous." "Superman? Lovely evening for it." Constantine gestured at the Slayer with his cigarette. "Allow me to introduce the Doomslayer. Finest demon killer in probably any multiverse. Just saved a dozen innocent people from demonic possession. We should give him a medal, really." Superman's gaze moved to the Slayer, taking in the imposing armor, the arsenal, the complete stillness that suggested either perfect calm or complete readiness to explode into violence. "The people in this building were already dead," Constantine interrupted. "Demons wearing meat suits. What you're seeing is the parasite's former transportation. The actual humans died hours ago when the possession took hold. All our friend here did was exterminate the squatters and put the bodies to rest." Superman's jaw tightened. "That's not how we operate. If there's a demonic threat, the Justice League has protocols. We have magic specialists. We don't need vigilantes executing people." The Slayer's helmet turned towards Superman. His sensors analyzed the newcomer. Kryptonian physiology, solar energy absorption, power levels that registered as genuinely threatening. Finally, something in this dimension that might require actual effort to kill if it came to combat. But no demonic corruption, no hell taint. Just another self-righteous warrior who thought evil could be reasoned with. "He doesn't talk," Constantine explained, noting the tension. "And before you get all Justice League on this, consider, DC's hell has been festering for decades. Watch your protocols involve containment, banishment, temporary solutions. This man, he offers permanent extinction. Demons don't come back from him, ever." "That's not justice," Superman said firmly. "That's extermination." Constantine laughed bitterly. "Against demons? That's exactly what it is. And it's exactly what this universe needs." The Slayer's sensors detected movement. Batman arriving via grapnel, landing on a nearby rooftop. Wonder Woman descending from the sky, her lasso of truth coiled at her hip. Zatanna materializing in a burst of backward-spoken words. The Justice League assembling to judge him, to contain him, to interfere with the mission. He'd seen this before. Different universe, same pattern. Heroes who thought mercy applied to demons, who believed in redemption for the irredeemable, who would lecture about morality while innocents died. The Slayer began walking toward the exit. Superman moved to block his path. I can't let you leave until we've established. The Slayer didn't stop, didn't even slow. He walked directly at Superman with the same dismissive confidence he'd shown Batman. Superman's hand came up, palm out, intending to halt the armored figure with gentle but irresistible force. Stop! The Slayer's fist shot forward. Not a punch, but a test. His gauntlet impacted Superman's palm with force that cracked pavement beneath the Man of Steel's feet. Superman's eyes widened. The strength wasn't Kryptonian, wasn't magical, wasn't even fully physical. It was will made manifest, rage given form, purpose channeled through flesh, blessed by beings that existed before Superman's universe was born. Superman pushed back, at increasing pressure. The Slayer matched him. They stood frozen, two unstoppable forces testing each other's limits. The floor beneath them began to crack, to crater, to give way under pressures that would have pulverized tanks. Gentlemen, Wonder Woman landed between them, warrior's instinct reading the escalation. This serves no purpose. We're not enemies here. The Slayer's helmet turned fractionally toward her. Assessed. Amazon. Godly heritage. Combat training that showed in her stance. Warrior who understood violence as language. Potentially reasonable. He disengaged from Superman, stepping back precisely one pace. Thank you, Diana said, hand resting casually on her sword's hilt, a gesture the Slayer recognized as professional readiness, not threat. I am Diana, Princess of Themyscira. Now you have arrived in our world during a time of fragile peace. We would speak with you about your intentions. The Slayer stared at her, said nothing. His silence conveyed everything. Intentions were irrelevant. Only outcomes mattered. Demons would die. Everything else was negotiable. Zatanna stepped forward, her backward speech already forming protective wards. I can sense what he is. He's been blessed or cursed by entities that make our demons look like schoolyard bullies. The magic woven into his being, into that armor, it's primordial. Older than our universe's conception of hell. Can you contain him? Batman asked from the rooftop. Zatanna laughed nervously. I could try. It would probably kill me. Definitely wouldn't work. Why, and might anger him enough to demonstrate exactly why hell itself fears him. Constantine nodded agreement. The man's walked through dimensions where demons were the apex predators and turned them into endangered species. You don't contain extinction-level events, Bats. You aim them at your enemies and hope they don't notice you're there. Superman crossed his arms. We don't weaponize people, and we certainly don't enable killers, regardless of their targets. He's not a killer, Constantine countered. He's a force of nature. Might as well lecture a hurricane about your building codes. The Slayer's sensors detected new demonic activity, a cluster manifesting in Robinson Park, drawn by the energy released from his recent kills. 20 signatures, growing. He turned and started walking. We're not finished here, Superman said, now moving to follow. Wonder Woman raised a hand, stopping him. Let me talk to him, warrior to warrior. She fell into step beside the Slayer, matching his ground-eating stride. You fight with honor, I can see. Each kill precise. No collateral damage, no innocent casualties. This is the way of a true warrior. The Slayer kept walking, but he didn't push her away. In my homeland, we have legends of warriors blessed by the gods for singular purposes. Champions chosen to face threats beyond mortal comprehension. I recognize what you are. A weapon wielded by forces greater than ourselves. She paused. But even weapons can choose their targets, can choose their battles. The Slayer's helmet turned slightly toward her, the first acknowledgement that someone's words might carry weight. Help us understand, Diana continued. Show us that you can distinguish between demons who threaten innocence and those who might be reasoned with. Prove that you're a warrior, not merely a destroyer. For a long moment, the Slayer considered. Then he raised his gauntlet, accessing the Praetor suit's holographic display. Images flickered, worlds consumed, dimensions burning, endless fields of human corpses left by demonic incursions. Civilizations that tried to reason with demons. That negotiated, that showed mercy. All extinct. The images dissolved. The Slayer's message clear. Demons don't reason. They consume. They corrupt. They must be exterminated. No exceptions, no negotiations, no mercy. Wonder Woman's expression hardened with understanding and something like respect. I see. You've witnessed horrors that justify your methods. She gripped her sword. Very well. If you must hunt demons in our world, I will accompany you, to ensure your targets are truly deserving of extinction. The Slayer assessed her offer. Having an Amazon warrior as witness might satisfy these heroes' concerns, might prevent interference. And if she proved treacherous, he'd handle it. He nodded once. Agreement. Constantine caught up, panting. Brilliant. The Slayer and Wonder Woman, demon hunting team. What could possibly go wrong? He pulled out chalk. Right then, the signatures in Robinson Park are clustering around the old poison ivy greenhouse. Some kind of demonic nature ritual. Nasty business. Shall we? Behind them, Superman watched the unlikely alliance form with deep concern. Batman, we need to monitor this closely. Already on it, Batman replied. Oracle is tracking them by a satellite. And I've alerted the rest of the League. If this Slayer becomes a threat... He won't, Zatanna interrupted, studying the mystical residue the Slayer left in his wake. At least not to us. He's frighteningly simple in his purpose. As long as we're not demons, we're beneath his notice. That's what concerns me, Batman said quietly. Someone that's single-minded, that unstoppable. What happens when he decides something we value is demonic? When his definition of demon expands? Constantine overheard and laughed darkly. Then Batman will learn firsthand why hell itself sealed him away in a tomb and prayed he'd never wake up. The Slayer, Wonder Woman, and Constantine disappeared into Gotham's reign, heading for Robinson Park. Behind them, the Justice League convened an emergency meeting. Ahead of them, demons gathered in desperate defense, calling for reinforcements from hell's deepest pits. And far below the world, in dimensions where suffering was currency and pain was art, the Lords of Hell held emergency council. Neron, resplendent in flames. The first of the fallen, ancient and terrible. Trigon's generals reporting that the Red Demon Lord himself had taken notice. The Unchained One walks above, Neron hissed. The prophecies spoke of this. A warrior from beyond our multiverse, immune to corruption, unkillable by any means we possess. Then we unite, the first of the fallen growled. Every demon lord, every hell dimension. We destroy him before he destroys us. Or, a new voice interrupted, echoing from everywhere and nowhere, we recruit him. From the shadows stepped a figure in orange and black armor. Deathstroke. But his eyes glowed with infernal light. Possessed, controlled, a meat puppet for something ancient and cruel. Darkseid has taken interest, the demon-wearing Deathstroke spoke. The Lord of Apocalypse sees potential in one immune to the anti-life equation. He offers terms. Deliver the Slayer to Apocalypse, and Darkseid will leave Hell's domains untouched for a millennium. The Demon Lords exchanged glances. A millennium of freedom from Apocalypse interference, all for one warrior. Agreed, Neron said. Send word to every demon on Earth. Capture the Slayer. Deliver him to Darkseid. Failure means extinction. The council adjourned. Across Earth, demons received their orders. The hunt for the hunter had begun, and the Slayer, walking through Gotham's reign with an Amazon princess and a cynical magician, White had no idea that he'd just become the most valuable commodity in Hell's markets, or that the Lord of Apocalypse himself had just entered the game. Robinson Park had been Gotham's lungs once, green space amid urban decay, a reminder that nature could survive even in this cursed city. Poison Ivy had claimed it years ago, transforming it into her personal Eden, a place where plants thrived and humanity kept its distance. Tonight, something had violated her sanctuary. The greenhouse stood at the park's heart, its glass dome cracked in bleeding, sickly green light. Vines writhed unnaturally, their movements jerky and wrong, as if the plants themselves were in agony. The Slayer's sensors painted the scene in tactical overlay. 47 demonic signatures clustered inside, their energy signatures twisting the local flora into corrupted parodies of life. Demon-possessed plants, Constantine observed, sketching containment wards on nearby trees. That's a new one. Usually demons prefer meat, not cellulose. He paused, noticing something. Wait, that energy signature? Bloody hell, they're trying to summon something through the green. Wonder Woman's hand tightened on her sword. The green? You mean the fundamental force connecting all plant life on Earth? The very same. If they anchor a hell portal through it, every plant on the planet becomes a potential gateway for demonic invasion. Constantine's hands move faster, his usual flippancy replaced by genuine urgency. We need to stop this now, and I mean scorched earth now, not your usual capture and contain Justice League bollocks. The Slayer was already moving. He'd heard enough. Demons threatening a planetary-scale invasion met his simple criteria: exterminate immediately. The heavy assault rifle materialized in his hands as he advanced toward the greenhouse, his stride purposeful and unhurried. Wait, Wonder Woman called, jogging to keep pace. We should coordinate, establish a perimeter, ensure no demons escape. The Slayer kicked down the greenhouse door. It exploded inward in a shower of corrupted wood and glass. Inside, the possessed vines reacted instantly, lashing toward the intruder with thorn tendrils that dripped viscous ichor. The Slayer opened fire, armor-piercing rounds shredding through plant matter and demonic essence alike. Each hit splashed black blood across the greenhouse floor. What each kill released a shrieking parasite that tried to flee into nearby vegetation. The Slayer had prepared for this. He activated the Flame Belch, a weapon modification that coated his rounds in superheated plasma. Fire erupted across the greenhouse, consuming possessed vines and fleeing demons in cleansing flame. The parasites shrieked as they burned, their ethereal forms unable to withstand argent fire designed specifically to annihilate demonic essence. 20 demons died in the first 10 seconds. The remaining 27 consolidated, merging their possessed plant matter into a single massive entity, a grotesque amalgamation of vines, thorns, and tortured flora, its core pulsing with concentrated hell energy. The thing towered 15 feet tall, its multiple vine limbs thrashing with enough force to pulverize concrete. "Oh, that's just lovely," Constantine muttered from outside. "They've gone and made a bloody demon plant kaiju." Wonder Woman charged in behind the Slayer, her sword igniting with divine fire. "If we strike the core simultaneously..." The Slayer was already moving. He holstered the rifle and drew the super shotgun, sprinting directly at the abomination. Vine limbs crashed down where he'd been standing, cratering the floor. He slid beneath another strike, came up firing both barrels into the creature's trunk. The blast tore a massive wound, exposing the pulsing hell core within. The creature roared, all its limbs converging on the Slayer from multiple angles. He couldn't dodge them all, didn't try. Instead, he let 3 vines wrap around his torso, then activated the Praetor suit's blood punch system. Argent energy flooded his right arm, it condensing into devastating force. He drove his fist into the nearest vine, and the accumulated power discharged in an explosion that vaporized the limb and sent shock waves through the creature's entire mass. The abomination reeled. Wonder Woman seized the opening, her sword arcing through possessed plant matter with surgical precision. She carved through 2 more limbs, her Amazon battle cry echoing through the greenhouse. "For Themyscira! For the innocent!" The Slayer reloaded and fired again, another thunderous blast removing more of the creature's mass. He could see the core now, fully exposed. 27 demonic parasites fused together, drawing power from the green itself. He reached for the BFG. "Not in here," Constantine shouted. "You'll breach the green's connection point. Could turn all of Gotham's parks into demon gateways." The Slayer paused, calculated. The BFG was efficient but imprecise for this scenario. He needed surgical extraction, not overwhelming firepower. He holstered the BFG and drew the crucible instead. The argent blade ignited with crimson fury. The abomination sensed the threat, recognized the weapon that had slain countless demon lords across infinite hells. It lashed out with desperate fury, every remaining limb attacking simultaneously. The Slayer waded through them, the crucible carving through possessed vines like they were smoke. Wonder Woman fought beside him, her sword and his blade working in synchronized destruction. Warrior and weapon, Amazon princess and Hell's greatest predator, united in purpose. They reached the core together. The fused demons shrieked, trying to separate, Moira to flee into the Green's vast network. Too late. The Slayer drove the Crucible into the Hell Core's center, while Wonder Woman's sword pierced it from the opposite side. Argent fire and divine flame met inside the demonic mass, creating a reaction that unmade the parasites at the fundamental level. The explosion was silent. The demons simply ceased. Their essence burned away so completely that not even ashes remained. The possessed plants withered, freed from corruption. The sickly green light died, replaced by normal darkness. The Slayer stood in the greenhouse's ruins, Crucible still ignited, scanning for survivors. None. 47 demons exterminated, planetary threat neutralized, mission parameters met. Wonder Woman sheathed her sword, breathing heavily but smiling. You fight like no warrior I've ever encountered. A pure efficiency without sacrificing effectiveness. She studied him with newfound respect. The Amazons would approve. Constantine entered cautiously, checking the Green's connection point. Clean severance. The demon's anchor is gone, the Green's integrity intact. He looked at the Slayer with something approaching awe. You actually gave a damn about collateral damage. Chose the right weapon for the job instead of just the biggest. Color me impressed. The Slayer said nothing. He simply began walking toward the exit, his sensors already painting new demon signatures across Gotham's map. But the hunt was interrupted by a sound that made Constantine's blood freeze. Slow, mocking applause echoing from the shadows. Bravo, truly, such magnificent brutality. A figure materialized from the darkness, humanoid but wrong. His skin was too perfect, his smile too wide, his eyes literally burning with hellfire. Neron, Duke of Hell, one of DC's most dangerous demon lords, stood before them wearing a tailored suit in contempt. Neron, Constantine hissed, already drawing protective sigils in the air. Bit bold showing your face topside, innit? Desperate times, Constantine. Neron's gaze fixed on the Slayer with predatory interest. I had to see for myself. The legend, the myth, the unchained predator who made hell itself scream. He began circling, maintaining careful distance. Tell me, do you know what you've done? By killing my agents so thoroughly, you've announced your presence to every demon lord in this dimension. They know you're here now. They know what you are. The Slayer tracked Neron's movement, Crucible still ignited and ready. And his threat assessment was clear. Major demon, high tier, dangerous. Kill immediately. He advanced. Neron raised his hands peacefully. Wait. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to negotiate. Neron's smile widened impossibly. You want to kill demons? I can give you targets. Hell's full of rivals I'd love to see exterminated. Work with me, and I'll point you at every demon lord who opposes my reign. You get your slaughter, I get my throne. Everyone wins. Everyone except the innocents those demons would torture for eternity, Wonder Woman said coldly, moving to flank Neron. We don't negotiate with Hell, demon. But he's not we, is he? Neron's burning gaze never left the Slayer. He's not bound by your heroic morality, your Justice League protocols. He's a pure instrument of destruction, and destruction can be aimed. And think about it, Slayer. In my hell, demons follow rules, contracts, limitations. But my rivals, they're chaos incarnate. Destroy them, and you actually save more souls than you damn. The Slayer stopped advancing. Not because he believed Neron, demons lied like humans breathed, but because the offer revealed useful information. Hell was fractured here. Demon lords competing, internal warfare, exploitable. Constantine caught the calculation in the Slayer's stillness. Don't even consider it, mate. Neron's the demon who tricked Superman, who corrupted Blue Devil, who's orchestrated genocides for fun. Whatever he's offering is poison wrapped in silk. Is it? Neron countered smoothly. I'm offering him exactly what he wants. Demons to kill. Targets confirmed as irredeemable. No moral ambiguity, no civilian casualties. Just pure, guilt-free extermination. He produced a scroll from nowhere, its parchment writhing with infernal contracts. I'll even put it in writing. My rivals' locations, their weaknesses, their true names. Everything he needs to wage war on Hell's worst, without wading through the bureaucratic circles that might, hypothetically, contains souls capable of redemption. There are no redeemable demons, Wonder Woman stated. Oh, but there are, Neron purred. Etrigan, for instance. Demon bound to a human, fights for good more often than not. Or Blue Devil, cursed with demonic appearance but heroic heart. Even Raven, daughter of Trigon, chooses light over darkness. Would your Slayer kill them too? Or does he possess the wisdom to distinguish between demons who've earned death and those who've earned mercy? The Slayer's helmet turned fractionally toward Wonder Woman. The question was valid, irritating as it was. In his universe, demons were simple. All corrupt, all irredeemable, all deserving of extinction. But this dimension had complications. Demons who fought demons, half-demons who protected humans. The categories weren't as clear. He's trying to manipulate you, Wonder Woman said firmly. Sowing doubt, confusion, it's what demons do. Actually, I'm trying to prevent my own demise, Neron admitted cheerfully. Every demon in hell knows you're here now, Slayer, and they're terrified. So terrified that they're doing something unprecedented. They're uniting. Every Hell Lord, every demon prince, every infernal duke. They're forming a coalition with one goal: kill you before you kill them. Constantine's cigarette fell from his lips. You're joking. I never joke about survival, John. Even now they're gathering armies, calling in favors from Earthside cults, negotiating with Apocalypse for weapons that might actually harm him. Neron's expression turned deadly serious. You've become Hell's #1 priority, Slayer. And when Hell unites with singular purpose, entire dimensions burn. The Slayer processed this. Increased demon activity was predictable. They always swarmed when threatened. But organized resistance, united Hell Lords, external alliances, that was tactical sophistication beyond typical demon behavior. It suggested intelligence, planning, actual threat. Good. He preferred when prey fought back, made the hunt interesting. I can help you survive, Neron offered. Insider information, safe houses in hell-adjacent dimensions, warning when the big attacks come. All I ask in return is that you consider, just consider, focusing your wrath on my rivals first. They're already organizing against you. Wouldn't you rather hit them while they're consolidating instead of waiting for them to hit you? He's right about one thing, Constantine admitted reluctantly. If Hell's actually uniting, we're in for a shitstorm of biblical proportions. Demons don't play nice together unless something scared them witless. Wonder Woman's jaw tightened. She turned to the Slayer. What do you want to do? The Slayer stared at Neron for a long moment. Then he raised the crucible and took one deliberate step forward. Neron's smile vanished. I'm offering you information, intelligence that could save countless. The Slayer took another step, his message clear. Demons didn't negotiate. They died. Neron could provide information standing or provided as a corpse. The Slayer had methods for extracting both. Your loss, Neron snarled, his charming facade cracking. When Hell's armies descend, when Trigon himself takes the field, when Darkseid's parademons drag you to Apocalypse in chains, remember, I offered you mercy. He vanished in a burst of hellfire, teleporting to safety. The Slayer's sensors tracked the dimensional displacement. Neron had fled to a hell-adjacent pocket dimension beyond immediate reach. Irritating, but acceptable. The demon would reveal himself again eventually. They always did. Constantine exhaled shakily. Right. So, we've just confirmed that Hell's organizing a counter-offensive. Our Darkseid's involved somehow, and we've pissed off literally every demon lord in DC's cosmology. He pulled out his flask, drained it. Standard Tuesday, really. Wonder Woman activated her Justice League communicator. This is Wonder Woman. We need an emergency meeting. All magical specialists, combat-rated members, and someone contact the Green Lantern Corps. We may be facing a multi-dimensional demonic incursion. Aye, call in the cavalry, Constantine agreed. But know this, when Hell unites, armies won't be enough. You'll need something they fear more than death. He looked at the Slayer. Luckily, we've got exactly that. The Slayer's sensors detected movement, multiple contacts converging on their position, fast, organized. He raised his rifle just as they arrived. A dozen figures in black tactical gear, faces hidden behind featureless masks, moving with military precision. But his scanners showed no life signs, no heat signatures, no souls. Possessed soldiers, Constantine identified. Demon-controlled meat puppets. Bloody Neron must have had them staged nearby. "Drop your weapons," the lead figure commanded, voice distorted and inhuman. "The Slayer comes with us. Darkseid's orders. Surrender him or die." Wonder Woman's lasso of truth uncoiled. "We don't surrender to tyrants." The possessed soldiers opened fire, not with conventional weapons, but with energy rifles that crackled with apocalypse technology. Omega beams miniaturized. The Slayer had seen this before in his own battles against technologically advanced demons. He'd fought worse. He charged directly into the firing line. Energy blasts splashed against his Praetor suit, or its shielding absorbing damage that would have vaporized tanks. He reached the first soldier, grabbed its rifle, crushed it, then drove his fist through the puppet's chest. The demon inside fled. He caught it, crushed it, moved to the next target. Wonder Woman engaged 3 simultaneously, her superior speed and combat training turning the soldiers' coordination against them. Her sword carved through possessed flesh, while her lasso captured demonic essences before they could escape. "Constantine, can you banish these parasites?" "Working on it." Constantine's hands wove complex patterns, speaking words in languages that hurt to hear. Protective wards flared around the battlefield, trapping the demons as their hosts fell. The Slayer systematically dismantled the remaining soldiers with brutal efficiency. These weren't warriors, they were weapons, meat robots controlled by demonic intelligence. He showed them the same mercy he'd show any weapon pointed at innocence: complete destruction. Within 2 minutes, all 12 lay shattered. Constantine's binding spell captured 8 fleeing demons. The other 4 the Slayer had annihilated too thoroughly to escape. "Apocalypse tech combined with demonic possession," Wonder Woman observed grimly, examining a fallen rifle. "Neron wasn't lying. They're coordinating with Darkseid. Which means this just escalated from demonic incursion to existential threat to reality," Constantine added. "Darkseid doesn't do anything small. If he wants the Slayer badly enough to negotiate with Hell." The Slayer's sensors suddenly spiked, massive energy signature manifesting directly above them. The clouds parted, out revealing a boom tube's characteristic portal. From it descended a figure that made even the Slayer pause. 8 feet tall, skin like cracked stone, eyes burning with Omega effect. Not Darkseid himself. The energy signature was too weak, but a herald, a lieutenant. Kalibak, Darkseid's son, landed with earth-shaking force. His beta club hummed with power as he surveyed the scene with crude intelligence. "Father wants the armored one, alive. Surrender him or face apocalypse." Wonder Woman stepped forward, placing herself between Kalibak and the Slayer. "You invade Earth without permission, attack its defenders, and demand surrender? Leave now, or I'll send you back to Apocalypse in pieces." Kalibak laughed, a sound like grinding stone. "Amazon! Father expected you'd interfere. He offers tribute. Leave now, and Apocalypse will spare Themyscira in the coming war. Stay, and your sisters burn." Diana's grip on her sword tightened, but her voice remained steady. "I am an ambassador of peace and a warrior of war. Themyscira would never forgive me for abandoning innocence to tyranny. Your answer is no." "Then die!" Kalibak charged, Beta Club raised. The Slayer stepped past Wonder Woman. Finally, a target worth the BFG's ammunition. He raised the weapon, its charging sequence whining to full power. Kalibak saw it, recognized the threat, tried to dodge. The BFG discharged. Argent plasma erupted forward, a sphere of death that tracked its target with malicious intelligence. Kalibak brought his Beta Club up to block, the new god weapon's force field activating. The plasma sphere punched through the force field, through the Beta Club, and detonated against Kalibak's chest. The explosion sent the new god flying backward through 3 trees before he crashed into the ground, smoke rising from his armor. Kalibak stood slowly, shocked, wounded. The Beta Club's shaft was cracked, his armor breached. For the first time in his existence, someone had hurt him with a single shot. Impossible. The Slayer was already reloading, advancing with mechanical precision. Calibok's threat assessment recalculated. This wasn't prey. This was a predator. And suddenly, delivering this warrior to Darkside alive seemed significantly more difficult than anticipated. "Father will hear of this," Calibok snarled. "You cannot hide from Apocalypse. We will return with armies, with furies, with..." The Slayer raised the BFG again. Calibok dove through a boom tube, fleeing rather than face another shot. The portal collapsed behind him. Silence fell over Robinson Park. Constantine was the first to speak. Did you just make Darkside's son run away?" The Slayer lowered the BFG, already scanning for new threats. Calibok would return with reinforcements. Demons were organizing. Hell was uniting. Apocalypse wanted him captured. Good. Let them come. All of them. One target or 1,000? The math didn't change. They would attack. He would kill them. The mission would continue until Hell was empty, and Apocalypse learned to fear his name. Wonder Woman touched his shoulder, a gesture of solidarity between warriors. "The Justice League will stand with you. Whatever comes, you won't face it alone." The Slayer glanced at her hand, then back to his sensors. Allies were acceptable, sometimes useful. As long as they didn't interfere with the extermination, they could stand wherever they wanted. Constantine's communicator buzzed. He answered, listened, his face going pale. "That was Zatanna. She's detecting massive demonic signatures manifesting across the globe. New York, London, Tokyo, Cairo, everywhere. They're not hiding anymore. Hell's opening its gates worldwide." "Then we return to the Watchtower," Wonder Woman decided. "Coordinate with the League. Plan a global defense." The Slayer shook his head slightly. Number. Planning, coordinating, strategizing. That was for wars. This was extermination. While they talked, demons killed. While they planned, innocents died. He began walking toward the nearest demonic signature, a massive cluster manifesting in Gotham's East End. "Wait," Constantine called. "You can't just... There's too many." "What, you need backup, strategy, support?" The Slayer kept walking. He'd fought alone in his own hell for eons. Earth's demons, even united, were just more targets, more fuel for the Crucible, more souls to harvest for Argent Energy. Wonder Woman watched him go, torn between tactical sense and warrior's respect. He's going to get himself killed. Or, Constantine said quietly, lighting a fresh cigarette, he's going to remind Hell why it sealed him in a tomb and prayed he'd never wake up. The Slayer disappeared into Gotham's darkness, heading directly for the demon army gathering in his path. Behind him, the Justice League scrambled to respond to a worldwide crisis. Ahead of him, Hell's legions prepared for battle. And in the deepest pits of the underworld, the demon lords watched through scrying pools and realized with dawning horror that they'd made a terrible mistake. They'd united to destroy him. They'd revealed their positions. They'd concentrated their forces. They'd made themselves easier to exterminate. The hunt had begun, and Hell was about to learn that being the prey was far worse than being the predator. Gotham's East End had always been hell-adjacent, crime-ridden, poverty-stricken, a place where hope went to die. Tonight, it became literally what it had always been metaphorically. The abandoned Sionis steel mill, once a monument to industrial decay, now pulsed with infernal energy as dimensional barriers tore open. Hundreds of demons poured through, not the low-level parasites the Slayer had been exterminating, but true hellspawn. Armored warriors from Neuron's legions, a flame-wreathed beast from the first of the Fallen's menagerie, chittering horrors from dimensions the Justice League had never cataloged. The Slayer's sensors counted 217 signatures and climbing. The demons weren't attacking civilians yet. They were organizing, forming ranks, establishing a beachhead. This was an invasion force, not a random incursion. They were waiting for something. Him. The Slayer approached the mill's perimeter where makeshift fortifications had been erected. Twisted metal and demonic architecture fused into barricades that hummed with dark magic. Sentries spotted him immediately, their shrieks alerting the army within. The front gates opened, disgorging a welcoming committee. 20 demon warriors, each 8 feet tall, wielding weapons that crackled with hellfire and malice. Their commander stepped forward, a creature of horn and scale wearing armor forged from damned souls. When it spoke, its voice echoed with the screams of thousands. "The Unchained One, we've been waiting. Lord Neron sends his regards and one final offer. Turn back now, and we'll let you leave Earth unmolested. Continue this crusade, and we'll bury this city in blood to stop you." The Slayer's response was to draw the super shotgun and fire both barrels into the commander's face. The demon's head exploded, its body collapsing backward. The Argent energy absorption was immediate, satisfying. The remaining 19 demons charged as one. The Slayer met them head-on. The first wave crashed against him like water against bedrock. Claws scraped uselessly against Praetor's suit plating. Hellfire washed over his shields without effect. He moved through them like a thresher through wheat, each motion precise, each strike lethal. The super shotgun thundered repeatedly, reducing demons to component parts. When it ran dry, he transitioned seamlessly to the heavy assault rifle, armor-piercing rounds punching through demonic armor and flesh alike. A massive brute, 12 feet of muscle and rage, tried to crush him in a bear hug. The Slayer activated the flame belch, coating the demon in superheated plasma. It released him, staggering backward, skin melting. The Slayer's boot caught it in the chest, sending it crashing into 3 more demons. The chainsaw roared to life, and the Slayer waded into the tangle of bodies, mechanical teeth tearing through supernatural flesh with beautiful efficiency. 15 seconds, 20 demons. The Slayer stood amid the carnage, her own not even breathing hard, and continued walking toward the mill's entrance. Inside, the demon army watched through scrying portals. Some felt fear, primal, instinctive terror that transcended their immortal existence. Others felt rage. How dare this outsider hunt them in their own claimed territory? But all of them felt the orders from above. Kill the Slayer or die trying. Hell's lords had been clear. This was no longer about conquest. It was about survival. The Slayer entered the mill proper, and Hell unleashed its prepared response. 50 demons attacked simultaneously from all directions: ceiling, walls, floor. They'd studied his tactics, learned from the cathedral, from the greenhouse, from every massacre he'd perpetrated. They coordinated their strikes, used hit-and-run tactics. He tried to overwhelm him through pure numbers and tactical superiority. It didn't matter. The Slayer activated systems they hadn't seen yet. His shoulder-mounted micro-missiles deployed, tracking targets independently, each projectile finding demonic flesh and detonating with precision. The equipment launcher fired ice bombs that flash-froze clusters of demons, making them brittle. The Slayer's gauntleted fist followed, shattering frozen demons into crystalline shards that dissolved into Argent energy. He moved through the assault like a force of nature, impossible to pin down, impossible to predict. When they attacked from above, he shot them down. When they flanked, he spun and cut through them with the crucible. When they tried to retreat, he pursued with relentless determination, giving no quarter, accepting no surrender. Because that's what they never understood about him. To the Slayer, demons weren't enemies to defeat. They were problems to solve, equations to balance, and the solution was always the same: reduce their numbers to 0. 70 demons dead within 3 minutes. The Slayer reloaded, scanned, advanced deeper into the mill. High above Gotham, in the Watchtower, the Justice League monitored the situation with growing alarm. Satellite feeds showed the East End steel mill glowing with demonic energy. Thermal scans registered massive battle signatures. And at the center of it all, one armored figure systematically dismantling an army. "He's going to get overwhelmed," Superman said, already moving toward the teleporter. "I'm going in." "Wait!" Batman's hand stopped him. "Oh, look at the casualty ratios." The displays showed real-time demon count, started at 217, now 143, and dropping, rapidly. "He's winning," Flash observed, his speedster brain processing the combat data. "Not just surviving, actively exterminating them faster than they can reinforce." Zatanna studied the mystical readings, her expression torn between horror and awe. The energy he's absorbing from each kill, he's literally getting stronger as he fights. The more demons he destroys, the more powerful he becomes. It's a feedback loop. They're not fighting a warrior, they're feeding an engine designed to consume them. We should still provide support, Wonder Woman insisted. He accepted my companionship in Robinson Park. We have an alliance. No, Constantine's voice crackled over the comm. He patched in from Gotham. We don't interfere. Not yet. Let me explain something about the Doomslayer that you need to understand. He's not trying to win battles. He's trying to send a message to every demon in every hell dimension, and that message is simple. Come at me, and I'll kill you all. That's suicide, Superman said flatly. It's terror, Constantine corrected. He's making himself the boogeyman, the thing demons fear more than angels, more than divine wrath, more than eternal suffering. Because angels can be reasoned with, divine wrath can be endured, suffering can be adapted to. But him, he's inevitable, unstoppable, and absolutely without mercy. By fighting alone, by winning alone, he's proving that hell itself can't stop him. Batman studied the tactical data, his strategic mind analyzing the Slayer's patterns. Constantine was right. This wasn't combat, it was psychological warfare on a cosmic scale. How long can he maintain this intensity? As long as there are demons to kill, Constantine answered. The man fought for eons in his own hell without rest. Earth's demons, even united, are just an afternoon's work for him. In the steel mill, the Slayer reached the central foundry where the main hell portal pulsed with crimson energy. Surrounding it, arranged in defensive formations, stood the remaining 112 demons. And at their center, something new materialized. A Hell Knight, 14 feet of armored muscle and ancient malice, a creature that had commanded legions before humanity learned to walk upright. Doomslayer, the Hell Knight's voice was surprisingly articulate, educated even. I am Zarthan, General of the Crimson Legion, a veteran of 10,000 battles across a dozen dimensions. I recognize what you are, a weapon blessed by beings we cannot comprehend, empowered to enact genocide upon our kind. In any other circumstance, I would flee. But my lords have made our orders clear. You die here, or we face extinction by their wrath. The Slayer said nothing, simply began walking forward, weapons lowered but ready. I'm told you don't speak, Zarthan continued, that you've burned away everything that made you human except the rage and purpose. I understand that. War does that to warriors, turns us into instruments, strips away everything soft and useless. The Hell Knight drew a blade that shimmered with reality-distorting energy. But instruments can break. Let's see if you're as unkillable as the legends claim. Zarthan lunged with speed that belied his size. We're the blade-carving reality itself. The Slayer sidestepped, the edge passing inches from his visor, and responded with the crucible. The blades met with a sound like thunder, argent energy clashing against hell-forged steel. The shock wave sent nearby demons flying. They fought like titans, each strike powerful enough to shatter buildings, each parry precise enough to split atoms. Zarthan was skilled, experienced, a warrior who'd survived millennia through superior technique and tactical genius. But the Slayer had something Zarthan didn't. Absolute, unwavering certainty. No fear of death, no concern for survival. Just forward momentum and lethal intent. The Slayer feinted left, drew Zarthan's guard, then drove his shoulder into the Hell Knight's chest with piledriver force. Zarthan staggered. The Slayer's crucible followed, as carving a deep wound across the Hell Knight's armor. Ichor sprayed. Zarthan roared, swinging his blade in a desperate arc. The Slayer ducked under it, rose inside Zarthan's guard, and fired the super shotgun point-blank into the wound. The blast tore through Zarthan's torso, demolishing internal organs that had never known damage. The Hell Knight collapsed to one knee, his blade clattering from nerveless fingers. Impossible, Zarthan gasped, demonic blood pooling beneath him. 10,000 battles, never defeated. The Slayer raised the crucible for the killing blow. Zarthan looked up at him, and for a moment something like understanding passed between warriors. Tell me, Zarthan whispered, what did they do? What did demons do to you that made you into this? The Slayer paused. In his mind flashed images. His home dimension, arched before family, friends, a world at peace. Then demons came. Portals opened. Hell poured through. He'd watched them die, every person he'd ever loved, consumed by demonic invasion. He'd been too weak then to save them, too human, so he'd made himself stronger, accepted blessings from beings that shouldn't exist, fought until he forgot how to do anything else, became the monster that monsters feared. The crucible fell. Zarthan dissolved into argent energy. The remaining demons broke. Their general dead, their invasion collapsing, they fled. Some through the hell portal, others scattering into Gotham's shadows. The Slayer let them run. He had a more important target, the portal itself. He approached the dimensional tear, analyzing its structure with sensors designed to map hell dimensions. Her standard architecture, anchored to this location through ritual sacrifice and ambient suffering. Gotham's misery made it easy to maintain. He could close it, send a message to Hell's lords that Earth was protected. Or he could do something better. The Slayer stepped through the portal into Hell itself. In the watchtower, alarms screamed. "He just crossed dimensional boundaries," Zatanna shouted. "He's in DC's Hell, the actual Hell. Can we retrieve him?" Superman demanded. "No," Constantine said, his voice carrying a mix of horror and admiration. "He's not trapped in Hell with demons. Demons are trapped in Hell with him." The Slayer emerged on the other side into a landscape of eternal torment. Rivers of fire, mountains of bones, skies that bled. This was the Hell that Constantine knew, that Zatanna feared, that Etrigan called home. Millions of demons inhabited its countless circles, and every single one of them suddenly felt the presence that had just invaded their domain. The Slayer's sensors painted tactical overlays across infinity. Too many targets to count. Whole armies, entire civilizations of suffering and cruelty. Perfect. He raised the BFG and fired into the nearest demon city. The Argent Sphere detonated like a miniature sun, vaporizing thousands. The explosion was visible from multiple hell dimensions, a message written in annihilation. "I'm here. Come and die." Back on Earth, in the steel mill, the hell portal fluctuated wildly. Energy readings spiked as something catastrophic occurred on the other side. Then demons began fleeing back through the portal, not invading but escaping, terror overriding their invasion orders. Wonder Woman arrived at the mill with a squad of Justice Leaguers, prepared for battle. Instead, they found an empty foundry littered with demon corpses and a portal disgorging, terrified hellspawn. "What happened?" Green Lantern asked. "Constructs ready." One demon, a lesser imp, gibbered in broken English. "He came to hell. He brought the war to us. Lord Neron's palace is burning. The Crimson Legion is extinct. He's killing everyone." The portal suddenly collapsed, severed from the hell side. Silence fell over the steel mill. "Did he just?" Flash started. "Close the portal from inside hell," Constantine confirmed, materializing beside them via teleportation circle. Trapping himself in hell with millions of demons, the absolute madman. "We have to retrieve him," Wonder Woman insisted. "Can't," Constantine said flatly. Hell's dimensional barriers are closed now, sealed from inside. He's locked in there, and I'm guessing it's deliberate. He's not fighting defensively anymore. He's taking the war to them, hunting demons in their own home dimension. Batman's voice crackled over comms. "How long can he survive in hell?" Constantine laughed bitterly. "Batman, you're asking the wrong question. The question isn't how long can he survive. It's how long can hell survive him?" In Hell's first circle, the Slayer walked through lakes of fire, demons scattering before him like insects. He'd found the optimal hunting ground. Infinite targets, no civilians to protect, no heroes to interfere with the mission. Just him and Hell and the eternity he needed to purge it completely. Lord Neron watched from his palace as the Slayer carved through his outer defenses, each death reducing his power base. "Mobilize everything," he commanded his generals. "Every demon, every soldier, every damn soul we've enslaved. Kill him or I'll kill you for failing." The first of the fallen observed from his throne, calculating. "Let Neron waste his forces. When the Slayer is weakened, we strike." But in the deepest circle, where Trigon the Terrible held court, the Red Demon Lord smiled. Fascinating. A warrior who invaded hell itself. I must meet this creature. Prepare my armor. I'll fight him personally. The Slayer's sensors detected the massive signatures mobilizing across Hell's geography. Armies numbering in the millions, converging on his position. Demon lords preparing for direct confrontation. Hell's entire military infrastructure shifting to defensive postures. He reloaded his weapons. He checked his ammunition reserves. The Praetor suit's systems were operating at peak efficiency, powered by the countless demons he'd already harvested. Argent energy flowed through him like electricity, every kill making him stronger, faster, more efficient. This was what he was made for, not Earth's scattered demon infestations, not protection duty, not limited engagements with rules and restraints. This was total war, hell itself as the battlefield. Infinite enemies arrayed against infinite rage. The Slayer activated his helmet's recording function, storing tactical data about Hell's architecture, its rulers, its weaknesses. When he was done here, if he ever was done, he'd have everything the Justice League needed to know about DC's underworld. Every secret, every vulnerability, every demon lord's true name. But that was later. First came the Purge. The first demon army crested the horizon, 10,000 strong, armored in hell-forged steel, wielding weapons designed to torture eternally. They charged with the confidence of creatures who'd never known true fear, who believed their home dimension gave them advantage. The Slayer stood his ground, weapons ready, purpose unwavering. They collided like galaxies, and hell itself began to burn. The battle raged for what Earth would measure as 3 days. In hell, where time moved differently, slower in some circles, faster in others, backwards in the most paradoxical domains, the Slayer fought for what felt like months. He carved through Neron's armies in the Obsidian Fields, reducing 10,000 demons to scattered corpses and fleeing survivors. He assaulted the Citadel of Screams, stronghold of the demon lord Abaddon, and left it burning with argent fire that wouldn't extinguish for centuries. The demons learned quickly that conventional tactics failed. Ambushes, flanking maneuvers, coordinated strikes, all useless against a warrior who'd fought in dimensions where hell itself was the terrain. They tried overwhelming numbers. The Slayer used their density against them, explosive weapons turning crowds into shrapnel that killed their own. They tried elite champions, ancient warriors who'd defeated angels. The Slayer killed them with the same efficiency he showed lesser demons, because titles and reputation meant nothing against absolute purpose. In the Watchtower, 3 days later, the Justice League monitored Hell's dimensional barriers with growing concern. Mystical readings showed catastrophic instability, entire Hell dimensions collapsing, with demon populations dropping by percentages Zatanna could barely comprehend. He's killed over 70,000 demons in 72 hours, she reported, voice hollow with disbelief. That's genocide on a scale I didn't think was possible. Whole demon bloodlines are extinct. Ancient houses that survived since before humanity. Gone. Just gone. We need to extract him, Superman insisted, before this gets worse. Gets worse? Constantine laughed without humor. Superman, he's doing what your Justice League has danced around for decades. He's actually solving the demon problem, permanently. Do you know how many lives he's saving by exterminating Hell's armies? How many potential invasions he's preventing? By becoming a mass murderer, Superman countered. There has to be another way. There isn't, Wonder Woman said quietly, studying the mystical readouts. As a warrior herself, she understood what Superman's idealism sometimes blinded him to. These aren't beings who can be rehabilitated, Clark. They're not criminals who made poor choices. They're entities whose fundamental nature is causing suffering. The Slayer isn't committing murder, he's weeding a garden. That's a dangerous metaphor, Batman observed from his station. When we start categorizing beings as weeds, we justify genocide. That's a line we can't cross. The Slayer already crossed it, Constantine said. Question is, do we try to stop him, or do we accept that maybe, just maybe, some problems require his kind of solution? The debate was cut short by alarms. Zatanna's hands moved frantically across mystical sensors. Something's happening. The dimensional barriers between Hell and Earth are destabilizing. Not from demon activity, from the Slayer's rampage. He's killing so many demons, absorbing so much Argent energy, that he's becoming a dimensional anchor himself. Hell's trying to reject him, push him back to Earth because his presence is literally destroying the realm's structural integrity. Can Hell force him out? Flash asked. It's trying, Zatanna confirmed, but it's like trying to vomit out a bullet that's still firing. Every second he stays, he does more damage. Hell's lords are in full retreat. Neron's abandoned 3 of his palaces. The first of the fallen is consolidating in the deepest circles. And Trigon, she paused, eyes widening. Trigon's moving to engage him directly. The conference room went silent. Trigon the Terrible, the Red Demon Lord, the conqueror of dimensions, father of Raven, and one of the most powerful entities in DC's cosmology. A being who challenged the Justice League at full strength and nearly won. We need to warn him, Wonder Woman said immediately. How? Batman asked practically. We can't communicate across dimensional barriers, and even if we could, would he listen? The man doesn't do warnings, Constantine added. He sees Trigon, he'll try to kill Trigon. That's the whole equation for him. Superman stood. Then we find a way to open a portal and extract him before Trigon arrives. You're missing the point, Constantine said, lighting a cigarette with shaking hands. Maybe Trigon should fight him. Maybe that's exactly the confrontation we need. Because either Trigon kills the Slayer and Hell stays safe from extermination, or the Slayer kills Trigon and we've just permanently solved one of Earth's biggest existential threats. Either way, we win. That's cold, Flash said. That's practical, Constantine countered. I like the Slayer in a terrified of him sort of way, but I also recognize he's a weapon. Weapons get pointed at problems, and Trigon is the biggest demonic problem we've got. In Hell's 7th Circle, in the Fortress of Subjugation where Trigon held court, the Red Demon Lord prepared for war. His armor, forged from the tears of enslaved gods, materialized across his titanic frame. Each piece was a dimension unto itself, containing whole realities of torment. His 4 eyes blazed with power that had shattered solar systems. His voice could crack planets when raised in anger. Father, Raven's astral form materialized, her concern overriding her usual caution around Trigon. Don't do this. You don't understand what he is. I understand perfectly, daughter, Trigon rumbled, each word a minor earthquake. He's a warrior blessed by entities even I do not recognize. A champion of genocide, methodical and relentless. Impressive, certainly, but ultimately mortal. Ultimately killable. He invaded Hell alone and survived 3 days, Raven pressed. He's exterminated armies, destroyed fortresses, killed demon lords who've existed since creation. This isn't arrogance you're facing, it's inevitability. Then I'll teach him that inevitability runs both ways. Trigon's blade, the God Killer, weapon that had literally slain deities, appeared in his grasp. Besides, daughter, I'm curious. I've conquered dimensions, enslaved civilizations, heartbroken heroes who thought themselves unbreakable. But I've never fought someone whose sole purpose is killing my kind. It will be refreshing. Raven recognized that tone. Her father wasn't worried about dying. He was excited about the challenge. If you fight him, one of you won't survive. I know, Trigon smiled with too many teeth. That's what makes it interesting. The Slayer, deep in Hell's war-torn landscape, felt the shift before his sensors registered it. The ambient temperature rose by 200 degrees. The ground trembled with footsteps that measured in the magnitude of earthquakes. Demons fled in all directions, abandoning their defensive positions, terror overriding their orders. He turned to see Trigon approaching, 100 feet tall, 4-eyed, wreathed in reality-distorting energy that made the air itself scream. And this was different from the demon lords he'd killed. Neron had been cunning and scheming. Zarthan had been skilled and experienced. This was power, raw and overwhelming, concentrated into a form that radiated dominance. The Slayer's threat assessment calculated extreme danger, potential for mission termination. Recommended action, strategic withdrawal. He ignored the recommendation and raised the BFG. Trigon saw the weapon, analyzed its energy signature, and laughed. A sound that shattered 3 nearby mountains. Impressive toy. Let's see how it fares against a god. The BFG discharged. Argent plasma erupted forward, tracking Trigon with lethal intent. Trigon raised one hand and reality bent. The plasma sphere slowed, stopped, inverted its trajectory, and rocketed back at the Slayer. He dove aside, went the shot missing by inches and detonating against a cliff face, vaporizing it. You'll need to do better than that, Trigon advanced, each step causing localized reality distortions. I've fought gods, Slayer. I've battled the presence's angels. I've stood against cosmic entities whose names would drive you mad. You're skilled, yes. Determined, absolutely. But ultimately, you're just a mortal with good equipment. The Slayer responded by charging directly at Trigon. Crucible ignited. The blade carved reality as he ran, leaving trails of argent fire in his wake. Trigon swung the God Killer in a casual arc. The weapons met with a thunderclap that could be felt across 7 hell dimensions. The Slayer's boots skidded backward 40 feet from the impact force. Trigon hadn't even budged. Adequate strength, Trigon observed. Wait, but let me show you power. Trigon's 4 eyes blazed, and beams of pure demonic energy erupted forth. Not heat vision, not lasers, but concentrated ending. Reality itself dissolved where the beams touched, matter and energy simply ceasing to exist. The Slayer dodged, rolled, used hell's broken terrain for cover. The beams carved through stone and steel like they were mist. He activated the equipment launcher, firing ice bombs. They struck Trigon's chest and detonated, flash freezing the Red Demon Lord in a glacier of crystalline ice. For 3 seconds, Trigon was immobilized. The Slayer used those seconds to close distance. Crucible raised for a devastating strike at Trigon's core. Trigon flexed, and the ice exploded into steam. His backhand caught the Slayer mid-leap, swatting him aside like an insect. The Slayer crashed through a building-sized boulder, his Praetor suit's shields absorbing damage that would have liquefied ordinary beings. He stood immediately, systems recalibrating, analyzing Trigon's patterns. Durability, extreme. Strength, superior. Energy projection, devastating. Weakness, unknown. Conclusion, this would require everything he had. The Slayer activated systems he rarely needed. Overdrive protocols that pushed the Praetor suit beyond safe operational limits. Argent energy flooded his muscles, his reflexes, his weapon systems. He became faster, stronger, more lethal. The cost would be measured in equipment degradation and physical stress. But against an opponent like Trigon, holding back meant death. He attacked again, this time with coordinated fury. The heavy assault rifle fired armor-piercing rounds at Trigon's eyes while the Slayer closed distance. Trigon raised the God Killer to block, and the Slayer used that moment to slide beneath the Demon Lord's guard. Crucible carving a deep wound across Trigon's leg. Ichor sprayed. Blood that burned with temperatures exceeding the Earth's core. Trigon roared, actually roared in pain, the sound collapsing 3 hell dimensions into each other. He kicked at the Slayer with titanic force. The Slayer activated his jump jets, using the kick's momentum to launch himself at Trigon's chest, chainsaw roaring to life. The chainsaw bit into Trigon's armor, and for the first time in millennia, the Red Demon Lord felt genuine damage. The Slayer wasn't just annoying him, wasn't just a persistent pest. This mortal was actually threatening him. On enough! Trigon's 4 hands grabbed the Slayer, tearing him away from the chainsaw, lifting him to eye level. You dare wound me! The Slayer's response was to activate the flame belch at point-blank range, superheated plasma washing over Trigon's face. 2 of the Demon Lord's eyes seared shut, cauterized by heat that rivaled stars. Trigon screamed, actual pain, actual injury, and hurled the Slayer with enough force to send him rocketing across Hell's landscape for miles. The Slayer crashed into a mountain, the impact cratering the entire structure. His Praetor suit's damage indicators flashed red, multiple systems offline, shields at 12%, internal injuries detected. For the first time since arriving in DC's universe, he'd encountered something that could potentially kill him. Good. He fought better when death was actually possible. He extracted himself from the mountain, armor smoking, and began walking back toward Trigon. Reloading, recalibrating, planning the next assault. Around him, demons watched in stunned silence. They'd never seen anyone hurt Trigon, never seen the Red Demon Lord actually bleed. And this mortal was walking back for more. Insane, one demon whispered. He's absolutely insane. No, another corrected, voice filled with religious awe. He's the Doomslayer. This is what he does. Trigon healed his wounded eyes through sheer force of will, flesh regrowing, power reasserting itself. But the wounds had existed. That alone changed everything. He wasn't invulnerable, not to this warrior. I underestimated you, Trigon admitted, genuine respect in his voice. A mistake I won't repeat. Come then, Slayer. Let's see if you can survive what comes next. Trigon's power erupted fully. No more testing, no more casual combat. The ground beneath them liquefied into magma. The sky rained meteors of condensed suffering. Reality itself began tearing at the seams as Trigon exerted his full-dimensional manipulation capabilities. He was reshaping this entire circle of hell into a weapon designed specifically to kill the Slayer. The Slayer activated his last resort, the Unmaker, a weapon he'd taken from Hell's most ancient armory, powered by Argent energy directly from demon souls. It materialized in his hands, a gun that screamed with the voices of the damned, that fired beams of pure annihilation. It consumed ammunition at catastrophic rates, drained his energy reserves with each shot, but its destructive potential exceeded even the BFG. If he fired, 5 beams of cosmic destruction erupted from the Unmaker, converging on Trigon's chest. The Red Demon Lord raised the God Killer to block, and the weapon, forged to kill deities, actually cracked under the assault. Trigon's armor shattered in 3 places, his flesh beneath seared and burned. Impossible! Trigon's rage shook Hell's foundations. He pointed all 4 hands at the Slayer and unleashed reality-ending energy from each palm. The Slayer dodged 2, tanked the 3rd on his shields, which collapsed completely, and was struck by the 4th directly in the chest. The blast should have erased him from existence. Instead, the Praetor Suit's blessing, the Seraphim's gift, the power bestowed by entities beyond this universe's understanding, absorbed the ending and converted it to Argent energy. The Slayer's reserves surged. Trigon's most devastating attack had made him stronger. Trigon saw this and understood. This wasn't a warrior who could be overwhelmed with power. This was a mechanism designed specifically to fight and kill beings like himself. Every attack fed the Slayer's strength. Every demon death made him more lethal. He was Hell's perfect predator, evolved across dimensions to counter everything demons could throw at him. For the first time in his existence, Trigon the Terrible felt something approaching fear. What are you? Trigon demanded. The Slayer's answer was to charge again, crucible blazing with Argent fury, augmented by the energy he'd absorbed from Trigon's attack. He was faster now, stronger, more dangerous than when the fight began. Trigon met him with the God Killer, and they clashed at the center of Hell's 7th circle. The battle that followed was beyond mortal comprehension. 2 beings operating at cosmic scale, each strike reshaping reality, each parry cracking dimensions. Trigon fought with millennia of experience, with power stolen from gods, with techniques that had conquered universes. The Slayer fought with singular purpose, blessed efficiency, and rage that had burned across infinite hells. On Earth, mystical sensors worldwide went haywire. Zatanna collapsed, overwhelmed by the magical feedback. Constantine's wards exploded, every protective sigil burning away. Dr. Fate materialized in the watchtower, his ancient voice grave. Hell itself is tearing apart. Trigon and the Slayer are fighting with power that threatens the dimensional barriers between realms. If this continues, Hell could collapse into Earth, or Earth could collapse into Hell. Can you stop them? Superman asked. I am a Lord of Order, Dr. Fate replied. Trigon is a force of chaos. The Slayer is something outside our paradigm. No, I cannot stop them. We can only wait and see who survives. In Hell, the battle reached its climax. Trigon, wounded and bleeding from dozens of cuts, stood at the center of a crater a mile wide. The Slayer, armor shattered in places, energy reserves at critical levels, stood across from him. Both warriors were past exhaustion, past pain, operating purely on will. You've proven your point, Trigon said, actually offering respect. You can hurt me, possibly even kill me, given enough time. But I offer you something better than endless combat, an alliance. Help me conquer Earth, and I'll give you every demon who opposes me. Unlimited hunting. Infinite targets. Everything you want. The Slayer's response was to raise the super shotgun. The message clear. Demons don't negotiate. They die. No exceptions. Trigon sighed almost sadly. Then we end this. Both warriors charged simultaneously, gathering their remaining power for one final exchange. Trigon's God-Killer blazed with reality-killing energy. The Slayer's crucible burned with argent fury, concentrated from thousands of demon souls. They met at the center, and the dimensional barriers between hell and earth shattered. The impact tore reality. Both warriors were caught in the backlash, hurled through dimensional space, separated by cosmic forces beyond their control. Trigon crashed back into his throne room, wounded and defeated for the first time in his existence. The Slayer materialized in Gotham Harbor, his arrival creating a waterspout 200 feet high as he punched through dimensions and landed in Earth's ocean. The Justice League's sensors detected him immediately. Superman was there within seconds, pulling the Slayer from the water. The armor was cracked, sparking, barely functional, but the Slayer was alive and already scanning for new demon signatures. "Easy," Superman said. "You're safe. You're back on Earth." The Slayer pushed him away, staggering onto the dock. His helmet's visor was cracked, and for the first time the League could see his eyes. Human eyes, but filled with such absolute determination that even Superman stepped back. "He fought Trigon," Wonder Woman said, arriving with the rest of the team, staring at the Slayer's wounds with warrior's recognition. "Hassan survived." "He did more than survive," Dr. Fate observed, studying the mystical residue. Trigon retreated. For the first time in recorded history, the Red Demon Lord withdrew from combat. The Slayer didn't win, but neither did Trigon. They fought to a standstill. Constantine appeared via teleportation circle, took one look at the Slayer, and laughed. "You magnificent bastard. You actually did it. You invaded hell, killed 70,000 demons, fought Trigon himself, and made it back alive." He pulled out his flask, offered it. "Have a drink, mate. You've earned it." The Slayer ignored the offer. His sensors showed demon activity across Gotham had dropped to near zero. Hell's forces were in full retreat, terrified by what had happened in their home dimension. Mission parameters achieved, Gotham secured, demon threat minimized. But his energy reserves were depleted. His armor needed extensive repairs. His weapon systems were offline. For the first time since arriving, the Slayer was genuinely vulnerable, and something else was coming. His sensors, damaged as they were, detected it. Massive energy signature. Boom tube forming in the sky above Gotham. Not Calabac this time. Something bigger, more dangerous. Darkseid himself was coming to claim his prize. The Slayer tried to raise his weapons, but his systems failed. He collapsed to one knee, armor finally giving out after days of continuous combat. The Justice League immediately surrounded him, defensive formation, ready to protect even this dangerous warrior. "We've got you," Superman said firmly. "Whatever comes, we face it together." The Slayer wanted to refuse, to stand alone as he always had. But his body wouldn't cooperate. For the first time in eons, he was forced to accept help. The boom tube opened, and from it emerged not Darkseid, but his herald, Desaad, master torturer of Apocalypse, carrying a message. The great Darkseid acknowledges the Doomslayer's prowess. He offers terms. Come to Apocalypse willingly, submit to study, and Earth will be spared invasion for 1 century. Refuse, and Darkseid's full might descends upon this world. Superman stepped forward. "Tell Darkseid that Earth doesn't negotiate with tyrants. We'll defend ourselves." Desaad smiled cruelly. "With what? Your Slayer is broken. Your armies are scattered. Your magic users are depleted. Darkseid comes not with Calabac's small force, but with armadas. Parademons number in the millions. The Furies saw the full might of Apocalypse, his gaze fixed on the kneeling Slayer. All because you chose to protect a weapon too dangerous to control." The Slayer's fist clenched. Even wounded, Even depleted, the rage remained. Darkseid wanted him. Let Darkseid come. Let them all come. He'd killed demons for eons. New gods would just be a different kind of target. Batman's voice crackled over comms from the Batcave. We need to evacuate the Slayer. Get him to the Watchtower for medical attention and repairs. We can't fight Darkseid with him in this condition. Agreed, Wonder Woman said, already moving to help the Slayer stand. Constantine, can you teleport us? Already drawing the circle, Constantine confirmed. But before they could activate the portal, the Slayer did something unexpected. He reached up, gripped his damaged helmet, and removed it. For the first time, the Justice League saw his face, scarred, weathered by endless combat, but unmistakably human. Younger than they expected, but aged by experiences that transcended time. He looked at each of them, his gaze weighing, judging, deciding. Then he nodded once. Agreement, acceptance. He would let them help, for now. Well then, Flash said nervously, guess we're all in this together now. Against hell, against apocalypse, against whatever else the multiverse throws at us. The Slayer allowed Wonder Woman to help him to his feet. Constantine's teleportation circle activated, and they vanished, leaving only Desaad standing on the dock. The Herald smiled and spoke to the empty air, knowing Darkseid observed through his eyes. The Slayer has allied with Earth's heroes. This complicates matters. Across the universe on Apocalypse, Darkseid sat upon his throne and smiled with satisfaction. No, this simplifies matters. Now I know exactly where to find him. Prepare the armadas. We invade Earth in 1 week. Either the Slayer submits, or I'll take him from the ashes of their world. The war had escalated beyond hell, beyond demons. Now it involved gods, tyrants, and the fate of Earth itself. And the Slayer, wounded but unbroken, had just become the catalyst for a conflict that would determine whether hope or darkness ruled the DC universe. The Watchtower's medical bay wasn't designed for someone like the Slayer. Its systems were built to handle Kryptonian physiology, Martian biology, even magical injuries from Diana's Themysciran heritage. But the Praetor suit's technology was beyond their expertise, a fusion of science and mysticism from a universe with fundamentally different physical laws. Cyborg worked on the armor's exterior systems, his mother box technology interfacing cautiously with the Slayer's suit. This is incredible, Victor breathed, his cybernetic eye analyzing data streams. The armor isn't just protective, it's alive, semi-sentient. It's been learning, adapting, evolving with every battle. And the power source? He pulled back, shaking his head. It's drawing energy from demon souls, actual souls. That shouldn't be scientifically possible. But here it is, functioning perfectly. Zatanna worked on the mystical components, her backward speech weaving diagnostic spells around the Slayer's blessings. The magic woven into him is primordial, older than our universe's concept of magic. Whoever blessed him, the Seraphim he called them, they exist outside our cosmological hierarchy. Even the presence might not know about them. She paused, eyes widening. And he's literally immune to corruption? I'm trying to scan for demonic taint, for hell's influence, and there's nothing. It's like trying to make water dry. His fundamental nature rejects evil at the atomic level. Superman stood nearby, arms crossed, watching the Slayer with barely concealed concern. The man hadn't spoken a word since removing his helmet, hadn't complained about the injuries Trigon had inflicted. Just sat there on the medical table, patient and still, letting them work while his eyes tracked every movement in the room with tactical awareness that never shut off. He needs rest, Superman said. Actual rest. He's been fighting nonstop for 3 days. He doesn't do rest, Constantine corrected, smoking despite the medical bay's no-smoking policy. No one had the energy to enforce it. He does mission parameters, and right now his mission is healing so he can get back to killing demons. That's the whole of his existence. Batman entered carrying a datapad. I've analyzed the combat footage from Hell. Constantine was right. He's not a person anymore. He's a weapon system. Every movement calculated for maximum lethality. No wasted energy, no unnecessary risks. He fights like someone who's done it so many times that it's literally automatic. That's because he has, Dr. Fate interjected, materializing in the medical bay with his characteristic golden glow. I've consulted the Book of Fate, seeking information about the Doomslayer's origin. What I found, the Lord of Order actually hesitated. His hell was invaded by demons when he was mortal. He was a soldier, a protector. He failed to save his people. In his grief and rage, he accepted blessings from beings called the Seraphim, entities that exist in a dimension where good and evil are absolute, not relative. They transformed him into hell's perfect predator. He's been fighting ever since. The book cannot determine how long, centuries, millennia, perhaps longer. The room fell silent. Even Flash, usually quick with jokes, said nothing. The Slayer's scarred hands clenched briefly, the only indication he'd heard, that he remembered, that somewhere beneath the weapon, the purpose, the absolute determination, a man still existed who'd lost everything and chosen eternal war over acceptance. Wonder Woman stepped forward, her warrior's empathy recognizing kindred trauma. You're not in your hell anymore. You could rest here. Let Earth's heroes handle the demon threats. You've earned peace. The Slayer's eyes met hers. For a moment, something flickered there. Not consideration, but appreciation that she understood enough to offer. Then he shook his head slightly. Negative. Peace wasn't possible. Not while demons existed. Not while innocents could suffer what he'd suffered. Stubborn bastard, Constantine muttered with something like affection. But I get it. You stop fighting, and you remember. Better to keep moving than to face the quiet. Cyborg systems beeped. Armor repairs are at 40%. At this rate, he'll be combat ready in 18 hours. But I recommend 72 hours minimum for full system restoration. We don't have 72 hours, Batman said grimly. Darkseid's deadline is 1 week. That gives us 6 days to prepare for an invasion that could destroy Earth. And our most effective weapon against cosmic threats is currently sitting on a medical table because he decided to invade hell alone. He also killed 70,000 demons and fought Trigon to a standstill, Wonder Woman countered. How many lives did he save? How many demon invasions did he prevent by decimating Hell's armies? At the cost of potentially bringing Darkseid down on all of us, Superman said. I'm not saying he was wrong to fight demons. I'm saying he needs to understand that his actions have consequences beyond his mission. Earth isn't just a battlefield. Wow, it's home to 8 billion people who didn't ask to be caught between the Slayer and Apocalypse. The Slayer stood abruptly, ignoring Cyborg's protests about incomplete repairs. He walked to the medical bay's window, looking down at Earth rotating peacefully below. Blue oceans, green continents, clouds drifting across cities where people lived, loved, laughed, all the things he'd forgotten how to do. He'd fought in his own hell for so long that he'd forgotten what peace looked like. Forgotten that some places were worth protecting, not just avenging. Earth wasn't just another battlefield. It was what his world could have been if he'd been stronger, faster, better. He turned back to the Justice League, and for the first time, he tried to communicate. His hands moved in signs, not formal sign language, but universal gestures. He pointed at himself, then at Earth, then made a slashing motion. Protect, fight, defend. He's saying he'll protect Earth, Cyborg translated, his systems analyzing the gestures. Not just hunt demons, actually defend it. The Slayer nodded, then pointed at the League, at himself, then interlocked his fingers. Together. Alliance. Partnership. Batman's eyes narrowed. You're offering to work with us? Follow our protocols? The Slayer hesitated, then made a partial gesture. Compromise. He wouldn't follow all their rules, wouldn't stop killing demons, wouldn't accept oversight on his mission, but he'd coordinate, share information, prevent collateral damage where possible. It's more than we had before, Wonder Woman said, and more than I expected. He's adapting. We're learning that this universe operates differently than his hell, or he's realized that Darkseid is a bigger threat than he can handle alone. Batman suggested. Pragmatism, not altruism. Constantine laughed. Does it matter? We've got Earth's most efficient demon killer offering to help defend against Apocalypse. I'll take pragmatic help over altruistic platitudes any day. Superman remained skeptical but nodded. All right, we work together. But there are conditions. No civilian casualties, no unnecessary destruction, and if we say stand down, you stand down. Can you agree to that? The Slayer considered. The first two were easy. He already minimized collateral damage. The third was problematic. If they ordered him to stop killing demons, to let some escape for humanitarian reasons, he made a gesture, conditional agreement, when he'd stand down if their reasoning was sound, but he reserved right to judge. That'll have to be good enough, Wonder Woman decided. We don't have time for perfect. We need functional. Can you fight at 60% capacity? The Slayer flexed his hands, testing the armor's responsiveness. Systems were damaged but operational. Weapons reduced to basics. The shotgun, rifle, crucible. The BFG and Unmaker were offline until full repairs completed, but 60% of his capacity was still more than most armies. He nodded. Combat ready. Good, Batman said, pulling up holographic displays. Because while you were in hell, we've been tracking Darkseid's movements. He's not waiting the full week. Apocalypse is already moving into our solar system. We have 3 days, maximum, before the parademons arrive. And we need every advantage we can get. The hologram showed Apocalypse, a planet-sized weapon, scarred by fire pits and industrial hellscapes, crawling with millions of parademons and new god technology. Compared to the demons the Slayer had fought, this was organized, technological, and led by one of the most dangerous entities in DC's cosmology. Darkseid wants you, Batman continued, his tactical mind already working through scenarios. Which means we can use you as bait, draw him into a trap, hit him with everything we have while he's focused on capturing you. The Slayer shook his head. No traps, no bait. He pointed at the image of Darkseid, then made a direct motion toward himself. Challenge, direct confrontation. He wanted to face Darkseid personally. That's suicide, Superman said flatly. One, Darkseid has omega beams that can erase you from existence. The anti-life equation that can control minds across the universe. You can't just charge at him like he's another demon. The Slayer's expression said otherwise. Everything was just another demon. Some were stronger, smarter, more dangerous. But they all died the same when you applied sufficient force to critical areas. He has a point, Wonder Woman said. We've fought Darkseid before. Traditional tactics don't work because he adapts, outthinks us, turns our strategies against us. But the Slayer doesn't do strategy. He does overwhelming violence applied directly to the problem. Maybe that's exactly what we need. Or maybe that's how we get Earth destroyed, Batman countered. We need to be smart about this. The debate was interrupted by alarms. Flash checked his console, his expression going pale. Guys, we have incoming. Multiple boom tubes opening across Earth's major cities. Not the full invasion. Looks like advanced scouts. Maybe 100 parademons per city. They're testing our defenses, Batman realized. Seeing how we respond, what resources we deploy. It's reconnaissance. The Slayer was already moving toward the teleporter, armor sparking but functional. If parademons were attacking cities, civilians were in danger. Mission parameters, clear. Wait, Superman called. We need to coordinate response teams. Flash, you take New York. Wonder Woman, London. I'll handle Metropolis. The Slayer activated the teleporter himself, Cyborg's earlier integration with the Watchtower systems giving him access. He selected Gotham, the city where he'd arrived, where demon activity had been highest. The city that reminded him most of his own hell. He just teleported to Gotham, Cyborg reported. And yeah, that's where the highest concentration of parademons is. 50 signatures in Crime Alley alone. Batman was already moving. I'm going after him. If he tears up Gotham fighting parademons, he won't, Constantine said with certainty. Watch. He's about to give Darkseid's scouts a message they'll take back to Apocalypse. In Gotham's Crime Alley, where the Slayer's arrival had begun, parademons descended from boom tubes like a plague. They attacked indiscriminately, civilians, buildings, infrastructure. Their goal wasn't conquest yet, just terror. They needed to see how Earth's defenders responded, how quickly, with what force. The Slayer materialized in the middle of the swarm, and the parademons recognized him immediately. Darkseid's orders had been specific. Capture the armored one alive. They swarmed him, 50 against 1, claws and energy weapons ready to subdue. The Slayer showed them exactly what Darkseid's forces would face if they came to Earth. The super shotgun thundered, each blast reducing parademons to component parts. When they tried to grab him, he activated the chainsaw, the blade carving through New God armor like it was tissue. His movements were poetry written in violence, each step positioned to maximize kill efficiency, each shot timed to catch multiple targets, each melee strike targeted at critical systems. Parademons were stronger than demons, tougher, better armored. It didn't matter. The Slayer had fought in dimensions where demons were gods. These were just soldiers. Well-equipped soldiers, certainly, but ultimately, just meat and metal that could be broken. Within 2 minutes, 30 parademons lay dead. The remaining 20 broke formation, trying to escape through boom tubes. The Slayer wouldn't let them. He needed survivors, witnesses who could report back to Darkseid what they'd faced. He let 5 escape. The other 15 he hunted down with systematic precision, each kill a lesson. Earth had a defender who didn't fear apocalypse, who couldn't be intimidated, who would kill every invader sent against this world. Batman arrived via Batmobile to find the Slayer standing amid parademon corpses, his damaged armor smoking, but completely unharmed. The 5 who'd escaped were already gone, fled through boom tubes. "You let some go," Batman observed. The Slayer nodded. Message delivered. Let them tell Darkseid what awaited his armies. Across the globe, similar scenes played out. Superman saved hundreds in Metropolis while destroying parademons with heat vision and super strength. Wonder Woman's sword carved through the London attackers with Amazonian precision. Flash's speed made him nearly untouchable, disassembling parademon tech faster than they could deploy it. But the reports that reached Apocalypse all focused on one defender, the armored warrior in Gotham who'd killed 30 parademons in 2 minutes with damaged equipment and no backup. On Apocalypse, in the throne room of fire and suffering, Darkseid watched the reports with interest. Desaad stood beside him, analyzing the combat data. "The Slayer is formidable, my lord," Desaad observed, "but still vulnerable. His armor was damaged in hell. His weapon systems are offline. If we strike now, while he's weakened..." "No," Darkseid's voice was absolute. "The challenge must be met at his peak, not his weakness. I will give him time to repair, time to prepare, and then I will break him and show Earth's heroes what true power means." "You're giving him 3 days to recover?" Desaad questioned. "That seems generous." "It's strategic," Darkseid corrected. "When I defeat him at full strength, when I demonstrate that even at his best he cannot stand against Darkseid, Earth's resistance will collapse. They'll see their greatest weapon fail and surrender rather than face annihilation." His eyes blazed with Omega effect. "Besides, I'm curious. I've conquered dimensions, broken gods, ended civilizations, but I've never fought someone blessed by entities outside our multiverse. Someone immune to the anti-life equation. I know someone whose existence is defined purely by killing those who threaten innocence." He leaned forward on his throne, actually smiling. "The Slayer is everything the Justice League claims to be, distilled into its purest form: absolute protection, zero compromise, perfect execution, and I'm going to prove that even perfection breaks against Darkseid." "And if he doesn't break?" Desaad dared to ask. Darkseid's smile widened. "Then I'll have found a warrior worthy of Apocalypse. Either way, I win." Back in the Watchtower, the Justice League reconvened after the parademon attacks. The Slayer stood among them, still damaged but having proven his value. Every member had reports of his efficiency, his precision, his absolute refusal to let enemies escape when civilians were threatened. "All right," Superman admitted reluctantly. "Hush, you've shown you can work with us, that you care about protecting people, not just killing demons." He extended his hand. "Welcome to the Justice League, temporarily." The Slayer looked at the offered hand, considered what accepting it meant. Partnership, responsibility, fighting not just for vengeance but for something worth preserving. He gripped Superman's hand. Once, firm, then released. "We have 3 days," Batman said, pulling up tactical displays. Cyborg, how long until the Slayer's armor is fully repaired? 48 hours if I work non-stop and integrate some Wayne Tech upgrades, Cyborg estimated. Maybe add some mother box compatibility so he can interface with our systems better. Do it, Batman authorized. We'll need every advantage. Wonder Woman, coordinate with the Amazons. Flash, alert the rest of the superhero community. Superman, talk to the Green Lantern Corps. We're going to need everyone for this. What about me? Constantine asked. You, Batman turned to him, are going to teach the Slayer everything you know about Darkseid's weaknesses, magical vulnerabilities, psychological pressure points, anything that might give us an edge. Constantine looked at the Slayer, who returned the gaze with patient attention. Right. Teaching Hell's greatest predator how to hunt a god. No pressure. He pulled out his cigarettes. This'll take whiskey. Lots of whiskey. As the League dispersed to their assignments, the Slayer remained in the Watchtower's observation deck, looking down at Earth. Somewhere down there, 8 billion people lived their lives, unaware that in 3 days, armies from Apocalypse would descend to claim one warrior. He'd failed to protect his world. Let everyone he loved die while he was too weak to stop it. But Earth wasn't his world. These weren't his people. He had no emotional attachment, no personal stake. Except, he did. Somewhere in the endless centuries of fighting, something had survived the transformation from man to weapon. Not hope. He'd abandoned that long ago. Not love, that had died with his world. But purpose. The understanding that some things were worth fighting for, even if you personally had nothing left to lose. Earth would not fall. Not to demons, not to Darkseid, not while he still functioned. Wonder Woman joined him at the window, her presence comfortable silence between warriors. You don't have to do this alone anymore, she said softly. We fight together. We protect together. That's what the League means. The Slayer didn't respond verbally, but he didn't leave either. Stood there beside her, 2 warriors watching over a world worth defending. In 3 days, Darkseid would come. The armies of Apocalypse would descend, and Earth's heroes would face their greatest challenge, but they wouldn't face it alone. They'd have the Justice League's power, humanity's determination, and one unkillable warrior who'd invaded hell itself and survived. Let Darkseid come. Let Apocalypse bring its millions. Let the universe's greatest tyrant attempt to claim Earth. The Slayer would remind them all why hell itself had sealed him away in fear. And this time, he wouldn't be alone. 48 hours of preparation transformed the Watchtower into a war fortress. Cyborg worked miracles with the Slayer's armor, on integrating mother box technology that enhanced the Praetor suit's already formidable capabilities without compromising its unique properties. The armor could now interface directly with the Watchtower's defense grid, boom tube detection systems, and even translate the Slayer's tactical assessments into data the League could use. This is incredible, Cyborg said as the final repairs completed. The suit's learning algorithms have already adapted to our tech. It's like it was designed to integrate with whatever technology it encounters. And I managed to restore most of your weapon systems. BFG's back online, though I'd recommend not firing it inside enclosed spaces. The Unmaker's energy consumption is still critical, but it'll work when you need it. The Slayer tested the armor's responsiveness, running through combat simulations in the Watchtower's training room. Every system responded perfectly, better than before. The damage from Trigon's assault had forced adaptations that made the suit stronger. Pain was just evolution's teaching method. Constantine had spent those same 48 hours briefing the Slayer on Darkseid's capabilities, chain-smoking through entire packs while explaining the intricacies of the Omega effect, the anti-life equation, and New God physiology. Here's the thing about Darkseid, Constantine said, sketching diagrams in the air with magic. He's not just strong, though he is, absurdly so. He's a concept made flesh. He's tyranny incarnate. The Omega effect isn't just death beams. It's the universe's heat-death weaponized, entropy-given direction. It can erase you from existence, trap you in temporal loops, or just fry you to atoms. Your call. The Slayer listened intently, absorbing tactical data. Omega beams could be dodged, They tracked targets but had travel time. The anti-life equation required verbal components or direct mental contact, maintain distance, prevent communication. Darkseid's true form existed in a higher dimension. What they'd face was an avatar, powerful but not omnipotent. The good news, Constantine continued, is that you're probably immune to the anti-life equation. That Seraphim blessing makes you fundamentally incorruptible. Can't control what can't be corrupted. The bad news is Darkseid will figure that out immediately and just try to kill you the old-fashioned way. With overwhelming physics-defying force? The Slayer nodded. He'd faced overwhelming force before. The solution was always the same: hit harder. A Batman had assembled intelligence from every encounter with Darkseid in recorded history, building a comprehensive tactical profile. He's arrogant, Batman explained to the gathered league. Believes himself inevitable. That arrogance creates openings. He doesn't fight defensively because he doesn't believe anything can truly harm him. The Slayer needs to exploit that. And if exploiting it doesn't work? Flash asked nervously. Then we die, Batman said flatly. But we die fighting. That's the only option Darkseid respects. Wonder Woman had brought reinforcements, a contingent of Amazon warriors led by her mother, Queen Hippolyta. The Amazons set up defensive positions around Earth's major cities, ready to engage parademons when the invasion began. Themyscira's magic users worked with Satana to establish wards that would slow boom tube formations, buying precious seconds for evacuations. Superman had contacted the Green Lantern Corps. Hal Jordan and John Stewart arrived with a squad of lanterns, their rings blazing with willpower. The Guardians approved military support, Hal reported. They've seen Apocalypse conquer worlds. They know what's coming. We've got 50 lanterns ready to engage the Parademon armies. Any word from the other Earths? Batman asked. The multiverse? Superman Prime is ready to assist if needed, Superman confirmed. But crossing dimensional barriers during an Apocalypse invasion risks creating instabilities Darkseid could exploit. We're Earth's first and probably only line of defense. The Slayer stood apart from the planning sessions. And not because he wasn't interested, but because strategy beyond kill the enemy efficiently was foreign to him. His preparation was simpler. Weapons check, armor calibration, ammunition count. He had the BFG with 3 shots, the Unmaker with enough energy for a sustained burst, Super Shotgun fully loaded, Crucible always ready, and his fists, which had killed demons when everything else failed. 18 hours before the projected invasion, the Slayer did something unexpected. He approached Batman in the Batcave, where the Dark Knight was running final simulations. Batman looked up, surprised. The Slayer rarely initiated contact. What do you need? The Slayer pointed at Batman's utility belt, then at his own armor, then made a questioning gesture. You want contingency weapons? Batman interpreted. Something that works if your primary systems fail? The Slayer nodded. In hell, redundancy had saved him countless times. When the BFG overheated, he had the shotgun. When ammunition ran out, he had the chainsaw. When everything failed, he had his fists. But against Darkseid, failure meant Earth's conquest. He needed more options. Batman's expression shifted. Not quite a smile, but something like professional respect. I designed these for worst-case scenarios. If Superman ever went rogue, if the League was compromised. He pulled out a case containing strange devices. Red sun grenades. They'll weaken Kryptonians and might affect New God physiology, since they both derive power from solar radiation. Hellbat armor components. I can't give you the whole suit, but these gauntlets channel pure determination into physical force. And this, he held up a small device that hummed with ominous energy. Phantom Zone Projector. It won't kill Darkseid, but it might trap him long enough for us to regroup. The Slayer accepted the equipment, integrating it into his armor's storage systems. Batman watched him work, seeing the methodical precision, the absolute focus. You remind me of someone, Batman said quietly. Me, if I'd lost everything and decided that vengeance was all that mattered. But you're different too. You don't just destroy, you protect through destruction. There's still purpose there, not just rage. The Slayer paused, considering Batman's words. Then he made a gesture, pointing at Batman, then at himself, then interlocking his fingers briefly. Similar, different, but united in purpose. Against Darkseid, that might be enough, Batman said. Just, I'll try not to die. Earth needs warriors like you, even if you terrify half the League. The Slayer returned to the Watchtower's observation deck, his final preparation site. Wonder Woman found him there, as she had before, looking down at Earth. Nervous? She asked. The Slayer shook his head. Fear had burned away centuries ago. What remained was calculation, anticipation, the warrior's focus before battle. Good, neither am I. Diana stood beside him, her hand resting on her sword. I fought Darkseid before, twice. We lost both times, managed to drive him off, but never truly defeated him. He always comes back, always stronger, always more prepared. She looked at the Slayer. But he's never fought you, never encountered someone who exists purely to destroy threats to the innocent. Maybe that's what we've been missing. Not more power, but absolute purpose. The Slayer made a gesture. Question. Why did Diana fight? What purpose drove her? Love, she answered simply. Love for humanity, for this world, for the possibility that tomorrow can be better than today. My mother taught me that warriors don't fight because they hate what's in front of them. They fight because they love what's behind them. She smiled. What about you? What do you love enough to fight for? The Slayer was silent for a long moment. Love was a word from his old life, before demons, before blessing, before becoming a weapon. He'd loved his family once, his world, his peace, all gone now, dust in a dimension far away. But standing here, looking at Earth, he felt something. Not love, that required vulnerability he'd armored against, but maybe duty, the obligation to ensure others didn't suffer what he'd suffered, that no one else would watch their world burn while they were too weak to stop it. He pointed at Earth, then at Diana, then made a protective gesture. Your world, your people, worth defending. Our world now, Diana corrected gently. You're here. You fought for it. That makes you part of it, whether you accept that or not. Before the Slayer could respond, alarm shrieked across the Watchtower. Cyborg's voice boomed through the speakers. Apocalypse has entered Earth's orbit. Boom tubes forming across the globe. The invasion has begun. The Slayer immediately activated his helmet, systems coming online, weapons priming. This was it, the battle he'd been preparing for. Justice League, assemble, Superman's voice commanded. Defensive positions, protect the cities. Xia and someone get the Slayer to the primary boom tube location. Darkseid will come through personally, and we need our best fighter on him. The Slayer was already moving toward the teleporter when Constantine grabbed his arm. Oi, one last thing before you go face the universe's biggest bastard. The magician pulled out a silver flask, unscrewed it, and took a long drink. Then he offered it to the Slayer. Liquid courage, or liquid stupidity. Hard to tell the difference when you're about to fight a god. The Slayer accepted the flask, examined it briefly, then handed it back untasted. He didn't need courage, didn't need anything except targets and ammunition. Right, Constantine sighed. Course you don't, just try not to get erased from existence, yeah? You're starting to grow on me. What's like a particularly violent fungus? The Slayer's helmet tilted slightly, the closest he came to humor. Then he stepped through the teleporter. He materialized in Metropolis, where the largest boom tube was forming in the sky above the city. Already parademons were pouring through by the thousands, and the Justice League was engaging them. Superman carved through their ranks with heat vision and super strength. Flash vibrated between them, dismantling their weapons at super speed. Green Lantern constructs created defensive barriers around civilians, while other lanterns fired emerald blasts into the swarm. But the parademons weren't the real threat. They were the announcement. The boom tube pulsed, expanded, and through it stepped Darkseid. He was 15 feet of walking inevitability, skin like cracked stone, his eyes blazing with Omega effect. His armor was Apocalypse itself, forged from conquered worlds, each plate containing the suffering of billions. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of shattered civilizations. I am Darkseid. I am the revelation, the Tiger Force at the core of all things. When you cry out in your dreams, it is Darkseid that you see. The parademons ceased their assault, parting like a demonic sea. Superman flew forward, positioning himself between Darkseid and the city. "Leave this world, Darkseid. Earth doesn't want your tyranny." "Earth's wants are irrelevant," Darkseid replied. "I came for one purpose, to claim the warrior who invaded Hell and fought Trigon, the Doomslayer. Surrender him to me and I'll spare your world. Refuse, and I'll turn Earth into Apocalypse's newest slave colony." "We don't negotiate with tyrants," Wonder Woman declared, landing beside Superman with a squad of Amazons. "And we don't surrender our allies." "Allies?" Darkseid's eyes tracked across the battlefield until they found the Slayer, standing alone amid parademon corpses, his armor gleaming with fresh repairs. "That is no ally. That is a weapon, a thing. And things belong to those strong enough to claim them." The Slayer raised his super shotgun in response. The message clear: come and try. Darkseid smiled, a terrible expression that promised suffering. "Impressive. Even now, even facing Darkseid, you show no fear, no hesitation. You've earned the right to die personally rather than be erased from a distance." He raised his hand and the Omega effect blazed. When twin beams of absolute ending erupted from his eyes, tracking toward the Slayer with impossible speed. The Slayer dodged, barely, the beams carving through buildings behind him, turning steel and concrete to dust. The beams curved, tracking back. The Slayer dove behind debris, the Omega effect punching through his cover like it was paper. He rolled, fired the shotgun at Darkseid while moving. The shells struck the new god's chest and bounced off harmlessly. "Insufficient," Darkseid pronounced. "You'll need to do better." The Slayer switched to the BFG, the weapon charging with ominous whine. Superman recognized the danger. "Everyone clear the area. That weapon's plasma can—" The Slayer fired. The Argent Sphere erupted forward, blazing with demon-killing fury. It had struck Darkseid's chest and detonated with force that vaporized 6 city blocks. When the explosion cleared, Darkseid stood in the crater, his armor cracked, smoke rising from his chest. For the first time in millennia, Darkseid had been damaged by an opening attack. "Impressive," Darkseid admitted, touching the wound. "This weapon draws power from souls, from the suffering of demons. Effective against Hell's spawn, but I am no demon." He gestured, and the ground beneath the Slayer erupted with Apocalypse technology. Massive robotic hands that grabbed the warrior, holding him immobile. "I am a god, and gods do not fall to mortal weapons." The Slayer struggled against the restraints, his armor's strength considerable but insufficient against Apocalypse engineering. Darkseid approached slowly, savoring the moment. "You've caused considerable trouble, little warrior. Terrified Hell itself. Fought my son. Forced me to come to this primitive world personally." He reached out, preparing to tear the Slayer free from his armor. But now, Wonder Woman's lasso of truth wrapped around Darkseid's arm, yanking him backward. "You'll have to go through all of us first." Superman struck from above with a punch that created sonic booms. Green Lantern constructs, massive hammers forged from willpower, slammed into Darkseid's back. The Amazons fired arrows enchanted with Olympian magic. Flash vibrated his hand toward Darkseid's head, attempting to phase through and disrupt his brain. Darkseid weathered the assault with barely a grimace. "Ah, the Justice League. Your interference is expected. So and futile." He released Omega effect in all directions, beams tracking each hero simultaneously. The League scattered. Superman took a beam directly, his invulnerability the only thing saving him from erasure. Wonder Woman deflected 2 beams with her bracelets. Flash outran 3. Green Lantern's constructs shattered under the assault. While Darkseid was distracted, the Slayer activated Batman's contingency gift. The Hellbat gauntlets channeled his determination, his absolute will to destroy threats, into physical strength that exceeded even the Praetor suit's normal output. He tore free from Apocalypse's restraints, ripping through technology designed to hold Kryptonians. Darkseid turned back just as the Slayer charged, Crucible ignited, moving faster than before. The blade carved across Darkseid's face, a drawing blood that glowed with cosmic fire. Darkseid's hand shot out, catching the Slayer by the throat, lifting him off the ground. "You dare!" Darkseid's voice shook the city. "You dare wound Darkseid?" The Slayer's response was to activate the flame belch at point-blank range, washing Darkseid's face in superheated plasma. Then he drove his armored knee into the new god's chest, exactly where the BFG had cracked the armor. Darkseid actually grunted in pain, his grip loosening. Superman seized the moment, flying at full speed and hitting Darkseid with enough force to send both God and Slayer crashing through 3 buildings. When they emerged from the rubble, Darkseid was bleeding from multiple wounds, his armor cracked in a dozen places. "This is new," Darkseid admitted, something like pleasure in his voice. "Actual resistance. When was the last time I bled? Centuries? Millennia?" He stood, energy building around him. "I'd forgotten what challenge feels like. Thank you, little warriors. You've reminded me why I enjoy conquest." He slammed his fists into the ground and the entire city block began to restructure. Buildings morphing into apocalypse architecture, streets becoming fire pits, reality itself bending to Darkseid's will. "I am not merely strong, I am the inevitable, the end state of all ambition, and you cannot stop the inevitable." The Slayer stood in the transforming landscape and realized Batman was right. Darkseid wasn't just an enemy. He was a force of nature, a concept made flesh. Defeating him wouldn't be like killing demons or even fighting Trigon. But the Slayer had fought concepts before, had battled hell itself, not just its demons, but the very idea of hell, and he'd survived by being equally absolute in return. He raised the Unmaker, the weapon screaming with imprisoned demon souls, and made his own declaration through pure action. If Darkseid was inevitability, then the Slayer was contradiction, the impossible warrior who refused to accept defeat, who couldn't be corrupted, who existed purely to destroy threats like Darkseid. The Unmaker fired, 6 beams of annihilation converging on Darkseid. The new god's Omega effect met them in mid-air, creating an explosion that lit up Metropolis like a second sun. When the light cleared, both warriors stood bloodied, damaged, but unbroken. The Justice League regrouped around the Slayer while Parademons swarmed from boom tubes. The final battle for Earth had begun, and neither side was backing down. The battle for Metropolis became apocalyptic. Parademons filled the sky like locusts, their numbers climbing past 10,000 as boom tubes continued disgorging Apocalypse armies. The Justice League fought desperately, Superman's heat vision carving swaths through the swarm, Wonder Woman's sword and lasso working in deadly harmony, Flash creating vortexes that sucked parademons into temporal displacement. The Green Lanterns formed a defensive shell around the city's evacuation zones, their constructs holding back the tide while civilians fled. But the real battle, the one that would determine Earth's fate, was between 2 warriors who existed beyond normal scales of power. Darkseid and the Doomslayer. They fought in the heart of the transformed cityscape, where Metropolis' gleaming towers had become Apocalypse industrial nightmare. Each exchange shook buildings. Each impact created craters. Darkseid wielded the Omega effect like an artist, beams tracking the Slayer from impossible angles, forcing him into increasingly desperate evasive maneuvers. The Slayer responded with pure aggression. He couldn't match Darkseid's cosmic power, couldn't reshape reality or command armies. But he could hurt the new god. Every shot from the Unmaker tore through Apocalypse armor. Every strike from the Crucible drew blood that glowed with divine fire. Every time Darkseid tried to grapple him, the Hellbat gauntlets channeled enough will-powered strength to break the holds. "You're impressive," Darkseid admitted, catching the Slayer's Crucible with his bare hand and crushing the blade's edge. "More than I anticipated, but you're operating at your absolute peak, while he smiled, "Horror terrible and vast. I'm merely testing you." Darkseid's other hand shot forward, palm striking the Slayer's chest with force that sent him flying through a building, through another, through 3 more before he crashed into the street. The Praetor suit's shields flickered, damage indicators screaming warnings. Several systems went offline. The Unmaker's energy reserves dropped to critical. The Slayer stood, armor sparking, and Darkseid was already there. Faster than something that massive should move. His fist hammered down, and the Slayer barely rolled aside before it cratered the street. Darkseid's other hand caught him mid-dodge, fingers wrapping around the Slayer's entire torso. "I could end this now," Darkseid said, squeezing. The Praetor's suit's plating began to crack under impossible pressure. "Crush you to paste. Hey, but I want you to understand something first. Your resistance, your determination, your blessed incorruptibility, all meaningless, because power, true power, renders all virtues irrelevant." The Slayer's hand shot to his belt, grabbing one of Batman's contingencies, the Phantom Zone projector. He activated it point blank, and reality tore open, a portal to the dimension where Krypton's worst criminals were imprisoned. Darkseid felt the pull, felt dimensional forces trying to drag him into eternal exile. For anyone else, it would have worked. But Darkseid was an anchored existence, a being whose presence in the universe was too fundamental to simply erase. He stepped through the portal's pull, walking against forces that would have scattered atoms, and emerged on the other side. Clever, a Kryptonian prison dimension. But I am beyond such crude banishment. He hurled the Slayer aside like a ragdoll. "Nothing you possess can contain Darkseid." Superman intervened, flying at full speed and tackling Darkseid away from the Slayer. They crashed through what remained of a skyscraper, trading blows that created sonic booms. "You're not invincible," Superman shouted, his fist connecting with Darkseid's jaw. "We've beaten you before." "You've survived me before," Darkseid corrected, catching Superman's next punch and headbutting him with enough force to crack the Man of Steel's skull. "There's a difference." He hurled Superman into the ground, creating a crater, then fired Omega beams at the dazed hero. Wonder Woman's lasso wrapped around the beams mid-flight, the lasso of truth compelling them to reveal their true nature. Not just death, but the ending of all things. She redirected them back at Darkseid, who simply walked through his own attack, immune to the very concept of ending. "The lasso of truth," Darkseid observed. "How quaint, but truth is whatever the powerful declare it to be." He grabbed the lasso, and even Hephaestus's unbreakable magic strained under his grip. "And I declare, Earth is mine." The Slayer rose from the rubble, his armor barely functional, most weapon systems offline. The BFG had one shot left. The Unmaker was depleted. The Crucible's blade was damaged. But his purpose remained intact, burning brighter than any weapon. He reached into the deepest reserves of the Praetor suit, accessing protocols he'd never needed before. The armor responded, drawing not from ammunition or energy reserves, but from something more fundamental, the Slayer's own blessed essence, the gift from the Seraphim that made him incorruptible, unkillable, eternal. He was trading his immortality for power, burning away the protections that kept him fighting forever for one moment of absolute force. Cyborg sensors detected the energy spike from the watchtower. "No, he's overloading the suit. If he depletes the Seraphim's blessing completely, he'll become mortal again. Vulnerable." "He knows," Batman said quietly, watching the readings. "He's choosing to risk everything for one shot at Darkseid." The Slayer's armor blazed with light that predated the universe, the Seraphim's fire, pure and absolute. He raised the BFG for its final shot, but this time the weapon wasn't just firing argent plasma, it was firing blessed judgment, the concentrated will of beings who existed before good and evil became relative concepts. He fired. The plasma sphere erupted forward, but it was no longer green. It was white, blazing with light that made parademons shriek and flee, that made demons across dimensions feel terror, that carried the absolute certainty: evil ends here. Darkseid saw it coming and recognized genuine threat. He raised both hands, channeling the Omega effect to its fullest. Reality-ending power concentrated into defensive shields. The blessed plasma struck his barrier, and the explosion was nuclear scale, vaporizing everything within a mile radius, creating a dome of white fire that consumed Apocalypse technology, parademons, and hope itself. The Justice League braced against the shockwave. Superman shielded civilians with his body. Wonder Woman's bracelets deflected deadly debris. Green Lanterns reinforced their constructs to maximum. When the light faded, a mile-wide crater existed where Central Metropolis had been. At its center stood Darkseid, his armor completely destroyed, his body bleeding from 1,000 wounds, one arm hanging useless. For the first time in his existence, Darkseid had been brought to his knees, but he was alive, wounded, damaged, humiliated, but alive. And 50 feet away, the Slayer knelt in his own crater, armor shattered, the Seraphim's blessing depleted. For the first time in eons, he was truly vulnerable, mortal, killable. Both warriors looked at each other across the devastated landscape, recognizing the stalemate. The Slayer had dealt Darkseid the greatest wound the new god had suffered in millennia. But he lacked the strength to finish it, and Darkseid, wounded as he was, could kill the now mortal Slayer with ease. Darkseid stood slowly, painfully. Magnificent. You actually wounded me, brought me to my knees. No one has done that since. He paused, genuinely struggling to remember. Since before New Genesis and Apocalypse split, you've earned something precious, little warrior. My respect. The Slayer tried to stand, but his legs wouldn't cooperate. The blessing's depletion had cost him more than immortality. It had cost him the supernatural strength, the endless endurance, the battle trance that let him fight for eons. He was just a man now. A skilled, determined, rage-filled man, but still just a man. Darkseid began walking toward him, each step deliberate despite his wounds. I came to claim you as a weapon, to add you to Apocalypse's arsenal, but you've proven too dangerous for that. So instead, he raised his hand, Omega effect gathering for a killing blow. I'll simply erase you, a mercy, given what I do to most enemies. Superman tried to intervene, flying desperately toward Darkseid. Too slow, too far. Wonder Woman threw her sword, but Darkseid swatted it aside. The Green Lanterns fired, but their constructs shattered against his fury. The Omega effect blazed, tracking toward the Slayer with inescapable precision. And then Constantine appeared. The magician materialized directly between Darkseid and the Slayer, hands raised, every protective ward and binding sigil he'd ever learned blazing across his body. Oi, Darkseid, got a message from Hell's Lords. They're offering you a deal. Darkseid's Omega effect paused, his beam stopping inches from Constantine's face. Speak quickly, magician. My patience is at its end. Hell's desperate, Constantine said, voice steady despite the death hovering at his nose. The Slayer killed 70,000 of their demons, wounded Trigon, terrified their entire hierarchy. They want him gone just as much as you do, so they're offering you the one thing you've always wanted but never obtained. Darkseid's eyes narrowed with interest. The anti-life equation? No, you daft git. That's theoretical mathematics. I'm talking about something real. Constantine pulled out a scroll that smoked with infernal power. They're offering you dominion over hell itself, complete control of every demon, every soul, every damned dimension. Make hell part of Apocalypse. Use demon armies as your soldiers. Enslave the underworld like you've enslaved everything else. The Justice League stared in horror. Superman's voice carried across the battlefield. Constantine, what are you doing? Saving Earth, you bloody Boy Scout, Constantine shouted back. Then quieter to Darkseid. But here's the catch. To claim Hell's throne, you need to defeat its current champion in single combat. That champion is Trigon. And right now, Trigon's wounded, weakened from fighting the Slayer. You'll never have a better chance to kill him and take his domain. Darkseid considered this, his tactical mind weighing options. You're offering me hell in exchange for sparing the Slayer? I'm offering you something better than one broken warrior, an entire dimension of soldiers and power. Think about it, Apocalypse and hell as your empire. That's worth more than revenge on one mortal who won't even survive the year anyway. Constantine gestured at the Slayer. He burned his blessing to wound you. He's mortal now, vulnerable. He'll probably die in the next fight against demons. Let him have that death instead of wasting your time finishing him personally. Darkseid looked at the Slayer, who glared back with undimmed fury despite his mortality. He would come after me, hunt me even as a mortal, dedicate whatever life remains to killing Darkseid. Probably, Constantine agreed, but you'll be in hell, consolidating power, waging war on Trigon. By the time you're done conquering the underworld, he'll have died fighting demons like he always does. Problem solves itself. The Slayer tried to object, to refuse this deal, but his voice was gone, lost in the depletion of his blessing, or simply too damaged to function. He could only watch as Constantine negotiated away his revenge. Darkseid lowered his hand, the Omega effect dissipating. You make a compelling argument, magician, and truth be told, I'm damaged. Continuing this battle wounded would be inefficient. Better to withdraw, recover, and return with Hell's armies at my command. He looked at the Slayer one last time. Enjoy your mortality, warrior. When next we meet, if you survive that long, I'll be stronger, and you'll be weaker. The outcome will be very different. He activated a boom tube, and parademons began retreating through portals. Apocalypse's invasion force withdrew as quickly as it had come, leaving devastation but not conquest. Superman landed beside Constantine as Darkseid's portal closed. You just gave Darkseid a path to controlling Hell. Do you understand what you've done? Saved Earth, saved the Slayer, and potentially solved two problems with one solution, Constantine replied, lighting a cigarette with shaking hands. Darkseid and Trigon will tear each other apart fighting for Hell's throne. Either Darkseid wins and gets bogged down ruling demons who hate being ruled, or Trigon wins and stays in Hell where he belongs. Either way, Earth gets breathing room. And if Darkseid wins and comes back stronger, Wonder Woman demanded. Then we'll deal with it, Constantine said. But right now, we've got a dying hero who needs medical attention, a city that's been half destroyed, and an invasion that's been averted. I'll take today's victory and worry about tomorrow's problems tomorrow. Medical teams rushed to the Slayer, finding him unconscious, his armor ruined, his body pushed beyond mortal limits. Cyborg's scans showed the blessing's depletion was complete. He was fully human now, vulnerable to age, disease, injury, death. Everything he'd sacrificed to become Hell's predator was gone. Will he survive? Wonder Woman asked, kneeling beside the fallen warrior. His body's shutting down from the strain, Cyborg reported. But he's got a heartbeat, brain activity. If we get him to the watchtower fast enough, maybe. But he'll never be what he was. The Doom Slayer is gone. What's left is just a man. They teleported him immediately, the League's medical bay receiving the warrior who'd fought a god and survived. Batman watched the medical readings, his detective's mind analyzing what Constantine had done. You planned this, Batman said quietly, before the battle even started. You researched Hell's politics, contacted the Demon Lords, arranged the deal with Darkseid as a contingency. Constantine exhaled smoke. Someone had to think past punch the bad guy until he falls down. That works on demons. Doesn't work on concepts like Darkseid. You need to redirect concepts, point them at each other, let them cancel out. That's manipulative, dangerous. You've potentially created an even bigger threat. Yeah, well, that's my whole deal, innit? Constantine stubbed out his cigarette. I manipulate, scheme, damn friends to save the world. Someone's got to do the dirty work while you lot maintain your moral purity. He looked at the medical bay where the Slayer fought for life. But I saved him, and I saved Earth. So tonight, I'm drinking to victory. Tomorrow, I'll worry about the consequences. In the medical bay, the Slayer's eyes flickered open briefly. Through drugged haze and pain, he saw Wonder Woman standing guard, saw Superman monitoring his vitals, saw the Justice League protecting him while he was vulnerable. He'd failed to kill Darkseid, failed to prevent the god's escape, but he'd wounded him, driven him off, saved Earth. His eyes closed again, consciousness fading, body demanding rest it had been denied for centuries. For the first time since accepting the Seraphim's blessing, the Doomslayer slept. Not the battle rest between fights, but actual, genuine sleep. The kind mortals needed, the kind humans required to heal. And in that sleep, he dreamed. Not of hell or demons or endless combat, but of his world before the invasion, his family, his peace. Everything he'd lost and fought to prevent others from losing. The blessing was gone. The supernatural power depleted. The immortality burned away. But the purpose remained. The determination. The absolute refusal to let evil win. He was mortal now, vulnerable, aging, breakable, but he was still the Doomslayer. And demons would learn that even mortal, even wounded, even depleted, he was still Hell's greatest nightmare, just with fewer options and higher stakes. 3 weeks passed. Metropolis rebuilt slowly, construction crews working around the clock to repair the devastation from the battle. The crater where central downtown had stood was now a monument park, a reminder of the day Earth's heroes fought Darkseid to a standstill and survived. Statues were commissioned. Superman, Wonder Woman, the Green Lanterns, and at the center a figure in damaged armor, holding a weapon that looked like it belonged in hell itself, the Doomslayer. In the Watchtower's medical bay, the man who'd worn that armor was learning to be human again. Recovery was slow, painful, frustrating. His body remembered being superhuman, remembered running for days without fatigue, shrugging off wounds that would kill ordinary men, fighting with strength that cracked planets. Now he got tired after an hour of training. Bruises lasted for days. Hunger and thirst required constant attention. Mortality was a prison after centuries of transcendence. But he adapted. He always adapted. Cyborg salvaged what he could from the Praetor suit, rebuilding it into something functional without the Seraphim's blessing to power its supernatural systems. It's still incredible armor, Victor explained, showing the Slayer the reconstructed suit. Probably the most advanced thing on Earth now, but it's just technology and engineering. No more blessed fire, no more argent energy absorption, no more immortality. You'll need to sleep, eat, heal like everyone else. The Slayer tested the armor's weight, finding it heavier than before, without supernatural strength to compensate. But it was still protection, still weapons, still functional. He could work with functional. Batman had spent the 3 weeks analyzing the consequences of Constantine's deal. Darkseid invaded Hell 2 days after withdrawing from Earth, he reported during a League meeting. Our mystical sources confirm he's fighting Trigon for dominion over the underworld. The battle's been catastrophic. Entire Hell dimensions are collapsing. Demon populations are being exterminated by parademon armies. It's chaos down there. Good, Constantine said, utterly unrepentant. Let them kill each other. Every demon Darkseid exterminates is one less threat to Earth. Every new god that Trigon destroys is one less soldier for Apocalypse. We win either way. Unless Darkseid wins and emerges with Hell's armies under his command, Superman countered, then we face Apocalypse and Hell simultaneously. Then we deal with it, Wonder Woman said firmly. But Constantine bought us time. Time to rebuild, to prepare, to strengthen our defenses. That's worth the risk. The Slayer listened to the debate from his corner of the conference room. No longer the silent observer, but an acknowledged member, temporary though his membership might be. He'd earned his place through combat, through sacrifice, through bleeding alongside Earth's heroes. When the meeting ended, Batman approached him privately. I've been monitoring demon activity on Earth since the invasion. It's dropped by 93%. Between your rampage in Hell and Darkseid's current war down there, demons are either dead or too terrified to surface. Earth's never been safer from infernal threats. The Slayer nodded. Acceptable outcome, but temporary. Demons were like weeds, kill 90%, and the remaining 10 would breed into 100% eventually. The fight never truly ended. I've prepared something for you, Batman continued, handing over a case. Since you're mortal now, you'll need more practical equipment. Inside the case, upgraded versions of Earth's weapons modified for demon hunting, was shotgun shells loaded with blessed silver, rifle rounds inscribed with Constantine's banishment sigils, grenades filled with holy water and white phosphorus, a new blade forged by Themyscira's smiths, not the Crucible's argent power, but Olympian steel blessed by the same gods who empowered Wonder Woman. It's not what you had, Batman admitted, but it's what we can give you. Earth's best technology and magic, designed specifically for hunting demons. The Slayer accepted the weapons, testing their weight, their balance, inferior to his original arsenal. But again, functional, and function was what mattered. There's something else, Batman said, his voice quieter. You're mortal now. You could stop, live what remains of your life in peace. You've earned that right 1,000 times over. The Slayer's expression said everything. Peace was for those who hadn't watched their world burn, for those who hadn't spent eternity fighting to prevent that burning from spreading. Mortality didn't change the mission. It just added a deadline. Batman nodded, understanding. I thought you'd say that. So I have a proposition. The Justice League has a reserve roster, heroes we can call on when threats exceed our capacity. We'd like you on that roster, not full-time membership. I know you work alone. But when demons threaten Earth, when hell needs purging, we call you. You come, you kill what needs killing, you leave. No politics, no committee meetings, no oversight beyond basic coordination. The Slayer considered this. Formal alliance with heroes who still believed in mercy, was in rehabilitation, in solutions beyond extermination. It would be complicated, frustrating. They'd question his methods, try to rein in his violence, lecture about proportional response. But they'd also provide resources, intelligence, support when facing threats that exceeded mortal capacity, and most importantly, they'd point him at demons that needed killing. He extended his hand. Agreement. Batman shook it firmly. Welcome to the Justice League Reserve roster. We'll call you when we need you. Over the following days, the Slayer prepared to leave the Watchtower. He'd recovered enough to function, the armor was rebuilt, and Earth's demon activity was minimal. Time to move on, find the next fight, continue the mission with mortal limitations. Wonder Woman found him in the armory, loading weapons with methodical precision. You're leaving. Statement, not question. The Slayer nodded. Where will you go? The Slayer pulled out a map, highlighted areas where Constantine's intelligence indicated demon activity, weak spots in reality where hell might breach, cult activity that could summon invasions, dimensional tiers that needed closing. Gotham had 3, Metropolis had 2, Coast City, Star City, Central City, all marked. You're going to hunt every demon on Earth, Diana observed. Mortal or not, you won't stop until hell's completely purged from this world. Another nod. Confirmation. That could take years, decades. And you're aging now. Time you spend hunting is time you lose from an already shortened life. The Slayer met her gaze steadily. Time was always the cost. Whether you lived for centuries or mere decades, you spent your time on what mattered. For him, what mattered was ensuring others didn't suffer what he'd suffered. How long that took was irrelevant. Wonder Woman smiled sadly. You're the truest warrior I've ever met. No glory, no reward, no recognition beyond fear from your enemies. Just pure purpose. She removed her bracelet, one of the unbreakable bands forged by Hephaestus. Take this. It won't make you immortal again, but it'll protect you better than any mortal armor. Consider it a gift from one warrior to another. The Slayer accepted the bracelet, understanding the significance. This wasn't just protection, it was acknowledgement, respect between equals. He attached it to his armor, the Olympian metal gleaming against his rebuilt suit. Superman arrived as the Slayer was leaving, floating down to the armory entrance. I wanted to apologize. When you first arrived, I saw you as a threat, someone too violent, too absolute, too dangerous to trust. I was wrong. The Slayer tilted his head slightly. Superman admitting error, acknowledging that sometimes violence was the answer, not because it was right, but because alternatives didn't exist. You showed me something I'd forgotten, Superman continued, that being a hero isn't always about inspiring hope or showing mercy. Sometimes it's about standing between innocence and evil, no matter the cost. You did that, against demons, against Trigon, against Darkseid himself. You fought until your blessing burned away and you became mortal again. He extended his hand. If you ever need help, anything at all, call. The Justice League owes you more than we can repay. The Slayer gripped Superman's hand briefly, then released. Debts were irrelevant. He hadn't fought for gratitude or payment. The survival of Earth's people was reward enough. Flash appeared in a blur, handing the Slayer a communicator. Dude, you're like the most terrifying person I've ever met, but also the most reliable. This connects directly to the Watchtower. You see demons we don't know about. You need backup against something big, or you just want to grab a bite. Wait, do you even eat? Anyway, just press the button. We'll come running. The Slayer pocketed the communicator. Useful resource. He'd call if civilians were threatened and demon numbers exceeded mortal capacity to handle alone. Cyborg materialized a hologram. I uploaded demon hunting protocols to your armor, threat assessment algorithms, weak point databases, Constantine's entire collection of banishment rituals. Your suit's now the single most advanced demon killing system on Earth. Use it well. The Slayer nodded his thanks, then turned to leave. Wait, Constantine's voice called from behind. The magician appeared from a shadow, looking worse for wear. 3 weeks of drinking and magical reconnaissance hadn't been kind. Before you go charging off to murder your way through Earth's remaining demons, you should know something. He pulled out a scroll that reeked of sulfur. I've been monitoring Hell's civil war. Darkseid's winning, Tragon's forces are collapsing, demon lords are either fleeing or swearing allegiance to Apocalypse. Within 6 months, maybe a year, Darkseid will control Hell completely. And when that happens, Batman asked, joining the group. Then he'll come back to Earth, Constantine said grimly, with parademon armies, new god technology, and every demon he's enslaved. It'll make the previous invasion look like a gentle warning. The room fell silent. The temporary victory had always had an expiration date. So we have a year to prepare, Wonder Woman said. To strengthen defenses, recruit more heroes, develop weapons that can actually hurt Darkseid. Or, Constantine looked at the Slayer, we send someone into Hell during the chaos. Someone who knows how to fight in demon dimensions. Someone who could sabotage Darkseid's conquest from inside. The Slayer understood immediately. Constantine was proposing he return to Hell, not to fight demons this time, but to prevent Darkseid from claiming the underworld. Guerrilla warfare in the one dimension where mortal heroes couldn't follow. It was suicide. He was mortal now, vulnerable to Hell's environment, to demonic poison, to corruption. Without the Seraphim's blessing, Hell would eventually kill him. Days, maybe weeks if he was careful. But if he succeeded, if he disrupted Darkseid's conquest enough to delay or prevent Hell's subjugation, Earth would gain the time it needed to prepare properly. No, Superman said firmly. We're not sending him to die. We'll find another way. The Slayer looked at Superman, appreciating the sentiment. But the calculation was simple. 1 mortal life versus Earth's 8 billion souls. The math was obvious. He made a gesture, declining the mission. Not out of fear, but practicality. Dying in Hell accomplished nothing if Darkseid simply conquered it later. Better to stay on Earth, kill demons here, prevent them from opening gates that would aid Darkseid's eventual invasion. Smart, Batman approved. Live to fight another day. Use the time we have to eliminate every demon stronghold on Earth. When Darkseid returns, he'll find no cultists to manipulate, no hell gates to exploit, no infernal allies to call upon. Scorched Earth, Constantine said with dark approval. Eliminate Hell's infrastructure on Earth so thoroughly that even controlling the underworld won't help Darkseid invade. I like it. It's properly vicious. The Slayer collected his weapons, his armor sealed and ready. The mission was clear. Hunt every demon on Earth before Darkseid returned. A race against time with mortality's clock ticking. As he moved toward the teleporter, Wonder Woman called out, "Where will you start?" The Slayer pointed at the map. Gotham, the city where he'd arrived, where demon activity remained highest, in where darkness concentrated thick enough to hide Hell's servants. Of course, Batman said quietly. You're going hunting in my city. The Slayer's expression said, your city needed cleaning anyway. He'd just be exterminating the pests Batman captured and released into Arkham's revolving door. Batman almost smiled. Try not to destroy too many buildings. And if you encounter the Joker, the Slayer made a slashing motion. If the Joker was possessed, he died. If not, he was Batman's problem. The Slayer hunted demons, not human monsters. Fair enough, Batman acknowledged. The Slayer stepped toward the teleporter, then paused, turned back to face the Justice League, Earth's greatest heroes, the protectors who'd fought beside him, bled beside him, accepted him despite his methods. He raised his fist to his chest. Once, a salute. Acknowledgement, gratitude expressed in the only way he knew. Warriors' respect between those who'd stood together against impossible odds. Then he activated the teleporter and vanished, materializing in Gotham's rain-soaked streets. The Justice League stood in silence for a moment. "Think he'll survive the year?" Flash asked quietly. "He survived eons in hell," Wonder Woman said. "He'll survive hunting demons on Earth. The real question is whether demons will survive him." "They won't," Constantine said with certainty. "He's mortal now, vulnerable, on a timer, but he's also absolutely focused, completely ruthless, and carrying Earth's best demon-killing equipment. I'd bet on him over Hell's entire remaining forces." Batman pulled up surveillance footage showing the Slayer walking through Gotham's East End, armor gleaming in the rain, when weapons ready. "He's not trying to survive the year. He's trying to kill every demon on Earth before his time runs out. It's not survival, it's a race." "Then let's make sure he has support," Superman decided. "Constantine, I want weekly reports on demon activity. Cyborg, monitor his armor's status remotely. Diana, coordinate with your mystical contacts. If he's hunting Hell's forces on Earth, the least we can do is give him intelligence and backup when needed." "And when Darkseid returns?" Flash asked. "Then we fight," Superman said simply. "With everything we've learned, with all the preparation time the Slayer's buying us, and maybe, just maybe, we'll actually win." In Gotham, the Slayer tracked his first target, a demon cult operating in the abandoned subway tunnels beneath Crime Alley. His sensors painted their positions, their numbers, their defensive preparations. 17 demons, 30 possessed cultists, one summoning circle that could potentially open a gate to hell. In his prime, with the blessing, he'd have slaughtered them in 60 seconds. Now mortal and vulnerable, he estimated 3 minutes. Maybe 4 if they had defenses he hadn't anticipated. He loaded the shotgun with blessed silver, drew the Olympian blade, checked the armor's seals. Then he descended into the tunnels, ready to remind Hell's servants that mortality didn't mean mercy. Across the multiverse, in dimensions beyond counting, beings watched the Doomslayers hunt with interest. The Seraphim, who'd blessed him so long ago, observed from their higher plane. Their gift had been spent, burned away to wound a god, but the purpose they'd instilled remained. Mortal he might be, but his soul still rejected corruption absolutely. "He'll die soon," one Seraphim observed. "Mortality in a warrior means eventual defeat." "Perhaps," another replied, "but he'll die fighting, protecting, ensuring others don't suffer his loss." "Is that not the highest expression of the blessing we gave?" "It is," the first agreed. "Let his final war be glorious." In Hell, where Darkseid's parademons fought Trigon's armies amid lakes of fire, the demon lords who'd survived spoke the Slayer's name with fear. He might be mortal, might be depleted, might be racing against his own death, but he was still the Doomslayer, still the unchained predator, still the one being Hell itself had sealed away in terror, and he was hunting them. On Apocalypse, seated on a throne of suffering, Darkseid paused in his conquest to consider the warrior who'd wounded him. Mortal now, vulnerable, but still dangerous. "When I finish claiming Hell," Darkseid spoke to Desaad, "remind me to return to Earth. I have unfinished business with the Slayer." "He may be dead by then, my lord. Mortality is fleeting." "Perhaps," Darkseid smiled, "but I hope not. I want to face him again. Want to prove that wounding Darkseid was fortune, not skill. Want to demonstrate that God's triumph over determination." His eyes blazed. "And if he's already dead when I return, I'll resurrect him just to kill him properly." In Gotham's tunnels, the Slayer kicked down the cult's door and opened fire. 17 demons noticed him. 30 possessed cultists turned to attack. The massacre began, and in the watchtower, monitoring the armor's telemetry, Cyborg smiled. "Chua, vital signs normal. Ammunition expenditure, efficient. Casualties, 0 friendly, 17 hostile. Time to completion, 2 minutes, 43 seconds. "He's getting faster," Batman observed. "He's adapting," Wonder Woman corrected. "Learning to fight efficiently as a mortal, compensating for lost power with improved tactics." "He'll need to," Constantine said, watching Hell's dimensional barriers on mystical sensors. "Because Darkseid's conquest is accelerating. We might not have a year, might have 6 months before he returns." "Then we use every second," Superman said. "Prepare, strengthen, and pray that when Darkseid comes back, we're ready. In the tunnels, the Slayer stood amid 17 demon corpses and 30 freed cultists. The summoning circle was destroyed, the gate prevented, mission accomplished. When he checked his ammunition reserves, adequate. Armor integrity, acceptable. Body condition, tired but functional. He accessed the map on his HUD. 16 more demon sites in Gotham alone. Then Metropolis, then the other cities. The hunt continued. Death was inevitable now. Age would claim what demons couldn't. Time would end what eternity had protected. But until that final moment, until his heart stopped and his purpose ended, he would fight, would hunt, would ensure Earth's innocence slept safely, unaware of the demons that died in darkness to keep them safe. Because that's what the Doomslayer did. Mortal or immortal, blessed or depleted, alone or allied. He hunted hell, and hell, even diminished, even ruling from Apocalypse's throne, would never stop fearing his name. The legend of the Doomslayer became myth in the DC universe. Stories circulated in demon circles, whispered warnings about the mortal warrior who'd invaded hell, fought Trigon, wounded Darkseid, and survived to hunt demons on Earth's streets. Some claimed he was a ghost, unable to die despite his mortality. Others said he was blessed by gods even the presence didn't know. All agreed, where the Slayer walked, demons perished. 6 months after Metropolis, Earth's demon population had been reduced to near extinction. Cult activity eliminated. Hellgates closed. Demonic strongholds purged. The Slayer's systematic extermination campaign had accomplished what centuries of heroes couldn't. He'd made Earth hostile territory for Hell's forces. But time's debt came due. The mortal body aged, even one as disciplined and maintained as his. Wounds accumulated that no longer healed instantly. Her reflexes slowed fractionally. Strength diminished incrementally. He felt mortality's approach, not with fear, but with calculation. How many more demons could he kill? How many sites could he purge? How much safer could he make Earth before the end? And when Darkseid inevitably returned, crowned with Hell's dominion and Apocalypse's might, the Justice League would find Earth defended not by an immortal predator, but by heroes inspired by his example. They'd learned from him that absolute purpose could triumph over cosmic power, that mortal determination could wound gods, that sometimes protection required extermination. The Doomslayer's war would end with his life, but the mission, the protection of innocence, the rejection of evil's inevitability, the refusal to accept defeat, that would endure in every hero who'd fought beside him. Earth had gained a defender unlike any other, and though his blessing was spent and his time was measured, the demons would remember. Hell's greatest nightmare walked among mortals now, and mortality only made him more dangerous. Because immortals could afford patience, mortals had deadlines, and a warrior racing against death fought with desperation gods could never match. The hunt continued, would continue until the final heartbeat, and then, perhaps beyond, because legends don't die when warriors fall. They live in the heroes they inspire, the innocence they saved, and the darkness they refused to let consume the light.